It's a championship afternoon for the North American Racing League Sunday Cash Field that has gone through the rigorous process of qualifying for this finale at Road America today. 2 hours lie ahead, and over $6,000 will be paid out to the top 20 drivers. Need we say more? Welcome to Pit Stop TV in the virtual Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV with Zach Lindgren and Zach Murtis on socials, and it's a pleasure to join you for coverage of NARL GT3 Sunday Cash Racing. Today's coverage from Road America is brought to you by Muradness, by Screw Compressor Service, and by the North American Racing League. This is going to be a big day for the North American Racing League. Well, we've already wrapped up the latest edition, Season 8's edition of the GT3 series. This is kind of a spin-off. Zach, you joined me for the entire series this past season. This is kind of a spin-off of that. A lot of the same drivers, some drivers that have I ratings too high. We'll talk about that in a moment. And they're all here at Road America, GT3, Road America. It's a very common combo. People love it. We got it here today.
I think it just, the reason that I believe that they keep putting this on is just the amount of racing and the amount of speed that this track holds is phenomenal. I mean, you see it there from 10 to 11 to 12. The speed that they carry, even through that kink, is just phenomenal. From 14 to 1, all the way up the hill, down to a hard braking turn 1. Through 3, 4, and 5, hard braking 5, hard 90-degree left. I mean, this track has it all. It has your technical, it has your high speed, it has close racing. I'm excited to get this going, and like you said, Andrew, over $6,000 in prizes on the line today. It's all coming together very quickly.
It's all coming together, wouldn't you know it? We are here for what is going to be a 2-hour race. Let's take an early look here at the Whiplash Simcams race details. We don't have the same supplementary pre-race graphics we usually do because points, they don't matter. The schedule, it's made up. Let's take a look at the Whiplash Simcams race details. 60-minute practice session. That's happening now. We'll get into the session in just a second. 10-minute qualifying session. That's coming up next. Then a 120-minute or 2-hour race. Open setups across the board. That means these guys have been tinkering, have been testing, trying to find all the speed they can to go the fastest over 2 hours. We will see about 3 pit stops, 55% fuel load. We might even see a 4th for some drivers if they mismanage fuel, and the total purse is over $6,200. I think that is the highest we have ever seen here on Pit Stop TV. $6,000 plus a few extra bucks. That is a big day at the payout window for all of these drivers. The breakdown, more or less, $2,000 to win. That's more than rent for a lot of people in this country. That is incredible. That is huge. $2,000 to win. $1,000 to finish second. So that position alone worth $1,000. $500 to third, and then on down the line, 4th through 10th, I believe, is $250 each. Then from 11th down to 20th. That was added literally today. $100 for 10th, on down in increments of 10, and so you get to $10 for 20th. So awarding money to all the top 20 in a 29-car field that it looks like so far. We might even have a 30th showing up here in just a moment. This is a big day. Big day, big payouts for the North American Racing League. This is going to be one that a lot of drivers, and certainly the winner, remembers for a long time.
Oh, absolutely. But like you said, Andrew, I mean, 20th and 20th finishing position still gets a little bit of the earnings. Maybe not as much as the winner, but still gets a little bit of the earnings. So there's a lot on the line for everybody pretty much in this race. Like you said, if there's 30 people coming in, that's 10 positions that aren't going to get paid out. So every single driver is going to be driving for at least something, at least try to get into the top 20 to get some sort of payout, to try to be able to advance their position, to advance their payout. So, I mean, there's a lot on the line for everybody here today. And I like the fact that they also gave that from 10th to 20th. I feel like we've also been harping on, obviously, the winner getting a large lump of sum, but just that 10th to 20th, I feel like that's where the racing's going to be, so everybody going to be vying for as much position as possible, obviously, to get that bigger payout.
I do want to correct Whiplash Simcam's race details graphic. There was a clerical error in what was clarified to me earlier today. An 80-minute race in the session today. I think the goal might have been to be a 2-hour race. Maybe it was set wrong, but regardless, it looks like in Sim what we have is 80 minutes of racing, which does change things actually quite a bit. I just said we'd have 3 pit stops, maybe even 4. That's going to cut that down wildly. 55 minutes, 55% fuel is going to be 32 to 35 minutes of racing, depending on lap times and such. So 2 pit stops probably, shouldn't have a third. Maybe a third if you again mismanage fuel, but it really should be a two pit stop race then, if we are going 80 minutes with 55% fuel. So that's something to keep in mind. Cutting the race down a little bit from what we initially expected. Still going to be a whopper of a race, a contest here today. Let's get into the practice session and let's take a look at some of these paint schemes and stuff, Zach. Something I love doing, just looking around the field, kind of meeting some of the drivers out there in a way. And we'll turn the engines up here. You can listen in as Aaron Vasquez is fastest in practice. We can look at that as well. Aaron Vasquez, fastest. And this guy, we were talking about it a little bit pre-race, pre-broadcast, I should say. He's got a pro license. There's 2 special licenses here. And iRacing awards licenses based on safety rating to all drivers. But you can get a pro or a world-class license by qualifying into a pro or world-class series. It's a pro license for Aaron Vasquez. His I rating, which essentially is a skill rating on iRacing, his I rating, 13,000. Mine, I believe, is under 2,000, just for reference. In fact, we have some 2,000 I rating drivers in here. So a wide discrepancy of over 10,000, and 10,000 used to be what people thought was the roof, right? It was a big deal when Ty Majeski hit 2,000 or 10,000 rather, over on the oval side. Now we've got drivers well over 10,000 into 13,000. That is incredible. 13,000 for Aaron Vasquez, 10,000 for second place currently on the timing list. That's Nicholas Rubelar. 11,000 for the other pro or world-class driver. That is Nicholas Mateo. Some insane numbers. Let's start looking at paint schemes though. As Aaron Vasquez is fastest, he is on track in his number 71. There he is in his Ford Mustang. And it seems like, Zach, while we have seen a lot of mid-engine drivers, mid-engine cars, I should say, in the McLaren in the points-paying rounds for Season 8, it seems like we're seeing a lot of front engine here today, a lot of Mustangs, a lot of Mercedes even. That is a wild difference compared to what we saw with the meta being the McLaren in the points-paying rounds.
Yeah, I was noticing that too when we were just kind of taking a look pre-broadcast, just kind of taking a look at the cars and seeing what we have to offer here on the track, and I was seeing that too. Just a lot of, like you said, a lot of front engine cars, but I feel like that might help at this track. You know, there's a bunch of hard corners, there's a bunch of fast corners, and I honestly feel like those front engines might be able to help carry you through those corners a little bit, might help get the nose in just a little bit more. Like you said, obviously these cars, with being in iRacing, they are built as closely to spec, but some manufacturers have some advantages over others, and obviously right now for everybody in this race, it seems like the Mustang has that advantage of just being the better car as of right now. But like you said, we do have a wide variety of cars: Mustangs, McLarens, Mercedes. We have a wide variety of cars in here, which you absolutely love to see. But yeah, it seems like the general consensus right now is the Ford Mustang.
A handful of Mustangs at the front of the field. We saw Vasquez. There he is in a Ford. Nicholas Rubelar in a Ford out of Chile. David Bodzka in a Ford out of Belgium. Let's see, Nicholas Mateo in a Mercedes in 4th place. And down in 5th, we saw Ricardo Rico in a Mercedes as well. Let's go to 6th place, Jarno Cook. That is a Ford Mustang. That driver out of Germany. Ganonso, and bear with me here, Ganonso Tazdelen. He's got iRacing, it looks like, on the graphic, but in a Ford Mustang as well. Victor Miranda, not on track currently, out of Brazil. He's in a Ferrari today, so that's interesting. We have a Ferrari up in 8th, then a Mercedes in 9th with Yannick Steinhoff. Norbert Leitner in the 10th spot, rounding out your top 10 out of Hungary in a Mercedes as well. Lewis Woods from Door Esports in a Ford Mustang. Jackson Resende, we've seen a lot of him in past seasons and years with the North American Racing League. He's now over at Nitro Racing Team. He is in a Ferrari here today. David Schwartz from Maradness, he is in a McLaren. So that's the first McLaren, down in 13th spot. That is huge.
It's very, very huge. Just to have, like you were talking about, we were in the points paying section of NARL, we did have a lot of McLarens. A lot of people decided to go with the McLarens, but as the update started to slowly come out, a lot of the cars started to vamp up, but in the points paying races, you couldn't switch cars. As soon as you locked into the beginning of the season, that's what you had, but a lot of these guys obviously have that option to now jump up to different cars, whichever cars they feel most comfortable with, and obviously a lot of them, as you mentioned earlier, that front engine. But it is really interesting that we have some Ferraris and some of the McLaren like we just saw there. So like right here with Eduardo Pecorini with the McLaren. So obviously some of these guys with the car choice that may just suit them. Maybe they don't want to take the car that may be the fastest but uncontrollable to them. If they pick a car that they feel is the most comfortable, then heck, they could probably put down the best lap times that they can muster. So obviously we see a lot of McLarens right here towards the field. Towards the back end of the field, Scott Kimbrough. Scott Reister is going to be driving the Mercedes. So Paulo Gadai as well. So I feel like a lot of the differing cars, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of them come up towards the field, but it's really cool to see just the disparity of the different manufacturers of the cars.
There are a couple of glaring omissions, being the Porsche, the Chevrolet, the Audi not being used today, and these drivers not able to use the Aston Martin that just released. That is not enabled for this session since the season began without it. They are finishing the season without it here today. Devin Jenkins there in a Ford Mustang as well, and then Mark Booley out there in a Ford Mustang. But yeah, the Porsche is a big one to me to not see any of. The Chevrolet is an interesting one as well, because a lot of American drivers, and we have a handful here, a lot of American drivers like to go with the Corvette. It's a really cool looking car, but it doesn't seem to be that quick on iRacing for whatever reason, and that might just come down to needing some BOP changes, frankly, in the iRacing sim. Maybe that's something that iRacing staff still needs to work on, who knows, but definitely a couple of glaring omissions, those being the most glaring to me. Otherwise, we do have a solid variety. Ford, McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, I think easily the four most common manufacturers here today. We can take a look at weather conditions. We've not done that just yet. Weather conditions in this practice session, at least. Down bottom right of your screen, 68.9 degrees in the air, 91 on track, clear skies, 4-mile-per-hour winds, 40% humidity, nothing too crazy. That is a good day for racing, Zach.
Oh, absolutely. With the track being at 91 degrees, track 10, I believe that's going to produce a lot of good racing as well. I mean, it's not really the most grip, but it's also going to include a lot of sliding. So you really got to be careful on your throttle inputs, on your braking inputs, on your steering inputs. So to have this fast of a track with that type of slippery track, I feel like that's going to produce a lot of good racing. But the ambient temp is picture perfect. Little to no humidity, little to no wind, so that's not really going to mess with the cars at all. So it's really just going to come down to how well the drivers can take on the course, really. And I feel like that's what you need, especially for a big payout race like this, where it just comes down to the drivers and their cars. So I feel like the session was set up beautifully for these guys.
Yeah, definitely a good day here at the races based on this weather. Gonna be relatively easy. I don't want to say easy to drive on, but it's not super hot. I mean, it's 91 degrees. It's a little warm, but the ambient temp isn't that crazy, so it shouldn't get too much hotter. I mean, this is clear sky. It looks like, what, middle of the day here? I still need to add that clock. I really do. I need to add a clock here to our graphics so we can see that, but regardless, it's going to be a good day for racing here virtually on the iRacing.com sim. Still a little bit of practice left, 4.5 minutes to go, and I think there aren't really many surprises to me at the top end of the field. Aaron Vasquez, being that he has that 13,000 I rating, makes a lot of sense to be first place with that pro license. Nicholas Rubilar, we've seen a lot of him in past seasons. We know he's quick. Him being second makes sense. Jarno Cook in third. Again, not a surprise to me. David Bozka, Nicholas Mateo, front end of the field, not really any big surprises. I will say David Schwartz and Jackson Rosende being as far down as they are is a little surprising to me, just because of past experiences with each of those drivers. Schwartz is a champion in the North American Racing League GT3 series, albeit a little more recent, and a lot of these guys are past seasons from seasons like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, so they have a little more time to have developed under their belt. Maybe David Schwartz a little bit newer to iRacing potentially and still kind of working his way up. Maybe that's part of it, I don't know, but I am a little surprised as Nicholas Rubelar up to the top of the board by 4/100ths of a second, getting closer and closer to a sub 201. That's a 201.332 now for Nicholas Rubelar. Big lap time.
I feel like we're kind of underplaying just the amount of time and effort it takes to get into these high ratings. And we were mentioning Aaron Vasquez with the high I rating, Nicholas Rubelar with the high I rating, most of these guys with the high I rating. The amount of time and effort it takes to get to that point, to not only get to that point in I rating, but to be considered a pro or a world-class driver in iRacing. You have to go up against the best of the best and still beat them. So just to have some of these guys in here, I think it's going to be a treat. I think it's going to be awesome to see. But the fact that there's only, 2 seconds separating the top from the bottom, I mean, that's not a lot of difference. The fact that these guys are right on top of each other as far as time in practice goes right now, I really like seeing that, especially with, like you said, some of the guys maybe have higher I rating, maybe have been on this a lot more, being at the top but still not running away with it. I feel like that's a really cool thing to have and just kind of keep an eye on as the race goes on.
Yeah, you mentioned the spread from top to the bottom of the field. It's 3.4 seconds now, with Rubelar going a little faster. 3.4 from Rubelar back to Mark Booley. And that might sound like a large number. Mark Booley, over the course of 4 miles, is only 3 seconds back of a 10,000 I rating driver. So that's pretty impressive, considering Mark's I rating is down at 1394. I mean, he and I would be competitive in a race together. I think he's one of our gentleman drivers, as we say, with the North American Racing League today, and kind of hoping that maybe there's a crash ahead and he can kind of find his way up to the mid-pack, even front of the field, if things play just the right way with pit strategy and whatnot. So that's why there's a reason to compete no matter where you are in the skill front. There's a reason to be here today and go for this money. I mean, again, finish top 20, you're getting some kind of money out of the day. But if you can manage to finish just a little bit higher, you can get nearly $100 through the 11 to 20 range. You get up into the top 10, it's at least $250. Third pays $500. Second pays $1,000. To win, it pays $2,000. So some big prizes up for grabs. Definitely going to be interesting to see just how aggressive these guys get and just how hard these guys race over the course of what seems to be an 80-minute race. Here's Devin Jenkins on the racetrack. Anthony Wayand is out there. He's in the McLaren. We saw Daniel Atunez in the number 3 Mercedes a little while ago. Connor Karnick out there in the number 99. That was a Ford Mustang. Nico Wierzbicki in a Mercedes. Just kind of recapping some of the car choices again. Lewis Woods out there. And these are a lot of new names for us as well. So it's going to be fun to see how a lot of these drivers that maybe run a little more casually or maybe are ahead of the iRating gap or iRating requirements, rather, for the normal Thursday series, kind of how they stack up to our normal Thursday drivers. And so far, of course, being ahead of that iRating range is an advantage, and it's showing.
Oh, absolutely, as we get ready to head on into qualifying here just to see what kind of lap times they could pull down. But I think you touched on something there a little bit, Andrew, about how with these guys being right on top of each other and maybe somebody at the bottom, your gentleman driver Mark Booley, Devin Jenkins, Jose DeLeo, some of the names that we've mentioned in some of the points-paying races. Like you said, their race right now is to just drive as best as their ability, but with everybody being right on top of each other towards the top of the standings in practice, there could be a wreck. There could be something to advance your position. So nobody's really out of this thing. Just because you're maybe a little off pace in practice doesn't mean you're completely out of it. And like you said, there's always something to fight for. If you get into the top 20, you're in payout position, and there's always positions to be gained with it. So even though, like you said, we do have that large gap in what seems to be skill gap, really with these guys being right on top of each other, there's really not much of a skill gap. Maybe that large gap up top may divide some people as far as the Thursday night racing. What we're going to see here, I believe, is going to be far past that as far as just somebody completely running away with it. So I'm excited to see how this turns out as we get qualifying rolling.
I will say I'm very impressed with Mark Booley and some of those other drivers at the bottom that have the lower I ratings still being so close to those guys up front. And of course, they could have used a draft lap in practice, but being that it is open setup and the resources these top teams have available, I think that might be the most impressive thing so far in practice alone. Just how close Booley and some others at the bottom of the field actually are to the top end of the field. And you see even the tire warming here from Nicholas Mateo. I mean, this is a pro driver. He's got this technique down well. Again, for the kind of more casual gentleman drivers to be this close to these pro guys. Very impressive, especially at a racetrack here like Road America. It is not an easy place to learn. 4 miles of racetrack, there's a lot of place to lose time, whether it's just getting out of a corner slightly slower, a mile per hour on corner exit ends up being multiple miles per hour at the end of the straight. So definitely, I think there's a lot to consider, and certainly some impressive lap times out there in practice. But here we go. 10-minute qualifying. You'll basically lose your first 2.5 minutes just getting up to speed around the racetrack. But let's ride on board here with Nicholas Mateo, a pro driver in the Mercedes AMG. Let's actually go to this camera. Driver's side POV. Let's pull up his telemetry, and let's just observe what he does. Now, I say observe. This is the most straightforward part of the racetrack, and it's interesting, Zach, did you see that? He's only in 5th gear. These guys have played with the gear stack, it seems, to get a little more acceleration maybe out of the corners. That's interesting. Only 5th gear, or maybe... Did they maybe use 6th as a fuel-save gear? I don't know. That is interesting to me.
But it also just depends on what fuel map and engine map that they have these cars in. They could change these cars from like an attack mode to really get into how fast these cars can go, maybe in the lower gears or a qualifying kind of stack. So, like you said, this is open setup, so it's possible that some of these guys also have a qualifying setup that they can get into and really run the gears out to get as much as they can out of the car. You see Mateo here really just not really forcing the wheel into anything. He's really calm on the wheel. There's not really any jerking, really slow inputs. And that's what you really need for a really fast track like this. You would think if you want to go fast, you need to really work the car. You don't. You need to keep this car as planted as possible. Not a lot of inputs, not a lot of jerking. Don't really take the car out of the tracks too much, so to say. So a lot of different variables that can go into making this car fast, to Andrew's point of maybe not getting into gear. Like you see right here, he's in 6th gear down this straight here, maybe just to get as much RPM out of it as possible, maybe keep a little slower coming into Canada corner here. We don't know, but obviously a pro driver is Mateo. He knows what's going on around this track.
It's interesting that they found 5th gear. They've clearly extended the gear ratio, right? A longer, taller gear ratio, so that gives them a little more room, I suppose, in the draft and at that long back straightaway into Canada corner. It's interesting as Vasquez goes right to the top of the board. That is a lap around Road America with Nicholas Mateo, a pro driver on iRacing on the road side. That first lap for Mateo will put him 4th on the list, as we can bring up the full list there on the left side. We did have a number graphic, by the way, for Dino Filippo. I'm not sure why his didn't load. Glad we got the rest in here, though. And Nicholas Rubelar right to the top in that Ford Mustang. Let's watch along for his lap here, then. This lap number 2 for Nicholas Rubelar as he sits on pole currently. And, these guys were down at 2:01.3s in practice. I would not be surprised to see these times be a little bit slower in qualifying. Why is that? Because they don't have the draft.
And draft plays a huge part just because of how long that we have those 3 straights, the front stretch, the stretch from 3 all the way down to 5, the stretch from 10 all the way to 12. Those are long straights, a lot of draft happening in those straights. And that honestly plays with the car a lot. You've got to play with the inputs going down those straights, just because if you're carrying a lot more speed, you're going to put your car in danger. You're going to put your race in danger. So that's going to be something to watch along here as well. But yeah, like you said, some of these guys may be a little bit off from their practice speeds, but Nicholas Rubelar here only 5/10 off his practice speed with his qualifying effort. And who's to say that the second lap isn't going to be faster? So it's like you said, maybe that draft did play a little bit as far as timing in practice, but as qualifying goes on, I think we're going to see those times drop a little bit. Maybe it's just those first lap jitters, maybe to get everything out of the way, cold tires, get a little warmed up, get a little more grip in the second lap as Rubelar comes through the final corner here. So I'm willing to bet that he's going to improve his time, maybe not to practice time, but I'm willing to bet there's an improvement.
The other thing for these drivers, fuel load, of course. They could have been on max fuel load in practice or somewhere in between. Vasquez jumps up at a 201.7. There's a 201.3 for Rubelar right with his practice time. That's impressive. A 201.3, no help, no draft. These guys, wow, their race laps are going to be blazing.
I mean, just trim out the car as much as you can for qualifying. And like you said, they're probably playing with the fuel a little bit to try to get as much out of it as qualifying. You don't want a heavy car going around this track just because that's going to slow you down. So these guys probably played with that just a little bit. Like you said, some of these pro drivers, they already know what they're doing as far as getting up to the top of the standings as we look on with Paulo Gadai. Here's somebody that I really want to see do well in this race. We documented him a lot through Season 8 in NARL, so here's somebody that I really want to see do well. Maybe not going to be pole position. You can see right there he's 7/10 off pole, but I'm kind of rooting for some of these guys that we've mentioned through Season 8. That was my first season in NARL, so I got to mention a lot of names, got to meet a lot of cool people. So to see those names start to come up to the top, that's what I'm rooting for here today.
Well, especially Paulo, he's now the champion of the North American Racing League. Grabbed himself the Season 8 championship, I believe his second in his career. So reigning champion of the series, will be defending champion in 2026 when Season 9 begins. So definitely want to see Paulo go up there and do well for himself here today and get himself some extra cash on top of everything he's earned through GT3 season number 8. Let's ride on board with him here as he works through the carousel. Qualifying coming down to a close. We have not yet checked weather conditions here in this session. Let's do that. That's definitely going to play into things with these open setups. It's a little bit later in the day, it seems. Track temp has come down very slightly, but it's nearly a carbon copy of what we saw in practice.
And just with that track temp coming down, like you said, maybe there was a little bit of looseness to the track, but these cars are still going to be gripped up. But now with these cars being trimmed out for qualifying and the track temp coming down, these cars are pretty much planted. You don't really see a lot of wiggling as we see Rubelar again go quicker. He bests his practice time of a 2:01.2. His practice time was a 2:01.3. Cook also very, very good time with a 2:01.3. Bosco with the 2:01.4. Mateo with the 2:01.4. Rico sitting right here with the 2:01.5 on his laps coming through the final sections of the track. So, I mean, these guys right on top of each other qualifying trim. I can't wait to see what it's going to be like for race trim. Only 55% fuel for race, though, so that's something that we're going to have to keep in mind. Maybe those cars don't like not being filled all the way up. Maybe they're going to be a little bit more planted, maybe a little slower. Car's going to react a little bit different, but with these guys being right on top of each other for qualifying, these guys are going to be right on top of each other even more for race.
And the Drago Racing driver, Ricardo Rico, to the line, 2:01.407. That's fourth place now for Ricardo. Jackson Resende out there completes his laps, the 18th position, and everybody's kind of wrapping things up now. Anthony Wayne has completed his laps. Devin Jenkins on lap number 2 likely will not complete lap 2 either. He was late to the party, it seems, in qualifying. He's still in turn 3, so he will not get any more than lap 1. And Mark Booley, a little bit off. That's across the stripe. Does he pick up? A little bit. Not a ton, though. And Gunonso Tazdelen, oh my, the buzzer beater of a 2:01.4 just gets to the stripe, and that was his last lap. He must have had off tracks on laps 1 and 2. That will be 6th place for Tazdelen, just in time. That was cutting it close for Gunonso. That was very, very close to the end of the session. But that'll do it for qualifying. 29 drivers in total, and we are set to go for what is estimated to be about a 40-lap race, probably 38 or 39 with pit stops, but 80 laps or 80 minutes or so here at Road America. We had Road Atlanta yesterday. I'm trying to make sure I stay on par today. Road America. We're in Wisconsin, not Georgia. But let's take a look as drivers set their setups and everything and get to the grid. Let's take a look at our lucky performance starting grid here today. On pole, we just covered qualifying. It's going to be familiar names from practice up front, ahead of the familiar names from our most recent GT3 points-paying season in the midfield. Up front, Nicolas Rubelar, and we've seen him in past Porsche Cup and GT3 seasons. That's a familiar name to us in general. He will start from first with car 77. All sevens on row one. The number 7, Jarno Cook, will start from second. Starting third, David Bonsga in the number 6, Ricardo Rico. In the number 51, he will start from 4th place. Back in 5th, Nicolas Mateo will start from the, inside of row number 3. Then Gunonso Tazdelen, the buzzer beater lap time, puts him 6th on the grid. Starting 7th and 8th, Aaron Vasquez and Norbert Leitner. And to complete your top 10, Yannick Steinhoff and Victor Miranda. That is some good company to be in. Yannick, we know how quick he is. Victor, we've seen him in past seasons in GT3 and in Porsche Cup racing. And oh my, he's been so good. Really good racecraft there out of Mr. Miranda.
To continue on in 11th and 12th, we're going to have Lewis Woods and Dino Filippa being 11th and 12th. 13th and 14th, Nico Orzbicki and Daniel Antunes, Antunes, my goodness. They are going to be pretty much in the 201 second range from qualifying. That's from first all the way to 14th. That is a 7/10 difference from first all the way back to 14th. Right behind them, just outside of that 201 range, Connor Karnick 15th, Chris Beats 16th, Paolo Gadai, again, another mention to him. He will be starting 17th. David Schwartz will be starting next to him in 18th. Jackson Rezende will be starting 19th, and rounding out your top 20 will be Scott Kimbrough.
Starting in 21st, Ricardo Delgado in the number 31. Scott Reister joins the field in 22nd spot. Haven't seen much of him yet today. I'm sure he will in the race. Eduardo Beccarini from 23rd. Lucas Souza from 24th. And of course, these are guys we see a lot in the North American Race League points paying rounds, including Division 2 driver Sven Hartman up here alongside Anthony Wayand. They did some battle themselves down in Division 2 this past season. Good to see them here today racing for a bit of cash. Jose De Leo back in 27th, Devin Jenkins from 28th, and finally Mark Booley from 29th spot. All 29 cars took a qualifying lap. All 29 cars are on the grid and rolling around behind the iRacing.com Ford Mustang safety car. Let's review those Whiplash Cams race details briefly as everybody is weaving on the straight, getting heat in those tires. Oh, so important. We saw this in the safety cars yesterday in the Majors Endurance Championship. We saw this to a degree in those manual safety cars. Everybody behind the safety car in the queue weaving, just trying to build heat in those tires. You got to do it. Let's take a look though at the Whiplash Cams race details one more time. 80-minute race, open setups, 55% fuel, the total purse over $6,200. And I would expect, Zach, we may not see tire changes every stop. I think we likely will once in this race. I don't think we see it on both stops. So do you take tires early? Do you take tires late?
Man, if tires are going to be an option and you decide to take tires, it's got to be your first stop. If there's only 2 stops on the calendar and that second stop isn't going to be a full run, that second stop to the end isn't going to be a full-fledged out run, I would take it on the first stop. That way you have as much control as possible over your car. You can set down as quick times as possible. You're not really at the mercy of tires being worn out through that long second run to the second pit stop. I would take it at the first stop again, just to make sure you have the best out of your car that you can, especially with how closely knit this field is. If you give yourself any kind of disadvantage, this field will take a jump at it. We already see a car down pit road, or Victor Miranda. He was a little late to grid. Looks like he's going to be starting from pit road. But to answer your question, Andrew, if it were me and tires are an option, I would be taking it definitely on the first stop.
I'm going to challenge that, though. What if you take your short run of fuel early, start with a lighter load, try and get ahead of the field, pit early, and run that different strategy? That's an option. I'm just saying, there's options with this open setup here today versus fixed setup in the points-paying GT3 series. These guys can do a lot more. They can really mess with things. They can definitely take some liberties in what they do as far as fuel load to start the race and strategy from then on. We are oh so close to the final green flag of the Sunday Cash Series in 2025. For now, I'm not saying this is for sure the only remaining round of North American Racing League action in 2025 is the final scheduled race at the moment for 2025. Let's turn the music down and turn the engines up. Nicholas Rubelar leading us up the hill out of turn 14 to today's green flag. We expect no safety cars. It's a straight up 80-minute race. We're racing now in Wisconsin. Nicholas Rubelar leads down to turn number 1, green flag in the North American Racing League Sunday Cash finale. A lot of yellow and blue in these top few spots. A lot of red and white as well. Everybody through turn 1 safely down to turn 3.
This is the part
Never
where
mind.
Yep, just like that. We got a car off track. It's the 51 over Ricardo Rico. He's going to go for a little bit of a spin. Maybe got a little bit of help. We have another one off track right in front of him.
That was Yannick Steinhoff, the other car, off the racetrack out of turn 3. Down to turn number 5 now. Everything seems okay. Through turn 5. Doesn't seem like any other. I mean, maybe a couple of dropped wheels. That's okay. Now turn 6.
These guys being so compact. That was one of my fears coming into turn 1 with these cold tires. Everybody being compact. Look at this. We're still side by side, nose to tail. Coming through 5 and 6 and 7, coming towards the long sweeping right. This is one of those parts of the track where you've really got to be on your game. Deep dive right here, 3 wide even, bumping and banging coming into this long sweeper right.
That was Nicholas Mateo on David Bosga. He falls in behind Lewis Woods as there is racing all over this racetrack, all the way through the 29-car field. Even Victor Miranda, who's just about 5 seconds behind this field after starting from the pit lane here in today's race. Maybe he was trying to avoid a big crash or something here early in the race. Definitely avoided that melee down to turn number 3 and then on as we get through Canada Corner for the first time today as a cohesive. Here's Nicholas Rubelar at the front of the field through Bill Mitchell Bend on down to turn 14. Final corner of lap number 1 in this hour and 20-minute affair. Up the hill now to complete the first lap of racing.
See those 3 blue and yellow cars right behind him. This car of Nicholas Rubelar sticking out like a sore thumb, but he's at the front of the field. He's leading the field towards turn 1. Again, these guys lined out very, very quickly. Some of these guys already gapping just a little bit, but just because you're at the top of the crowd doesn't mean that you're already finished with the job. These guys still have a lot of racing to go up here.
And let's go back and see what happened down at turn 3. This is a little bit late in the replay, so we got to go a little further back, but that also shows a little bit of what happened to Yannick Steinhoff. We'll check out everything here for lap 1, turn 3, for these couple of drivers that went off the racetrack. We saw briefly kind of what happened with Ricardo Rico, and that's the 7 of Jarno Cook on his inside. Actually, it's a different driver. That's going to be, I think, Vasquez. No, that was Bosga. Bosga got him.
Got his right rear, a little bit of a drift, and you see Yannick Steinhoff in the background of everything that happened there as well. Maybe just a little bit of a checkup. We saw a car spinning. Maybe everybody was trying to take evasive action. Sure, it was off track, but you still see a car spinning. It's very easy to get out of sorts very quickly. Here we go there, just with a little bit of a slide into the gravel pit. Obviously, not the start that you want to have, but no harm, no foul. Your car's still in one piece, but I'm kind of interested to see what happens to Yannick Steinhoff, to what caused that, as we get an in-car view here to see what happened to Rico.
From Bosga's perspective, I don't think he did anything wrong. He might have just missed turn 3 a little bit. And we'll take a look now at what happened. You saw some of what happened there with Steinhoff out of that third turn. Here's the number 5. He was a little further back on the start alongside the 20 of Dino Filippa down to turn 3. He's got Lewis Woods behind. And, Filippa was holding his ground, and Steinhoff kind of came over and tried to Verstappen him a little bit.
it looked like that. Maybe just a little bit of looseness on the outside car too. There was a little bit of a twitch there. Maybe the car was just losing a little bit of grip, and like you said, Yannick was just trying to get into place.
Yeah, there was a bobble.
Bit of looseness. The little bit of bobble, tried to save the car, and Yannick was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't think there was anything egregious, obviously, between those drivers there. I don't think that was intentional, just that little bit of bobble, and Yannick was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
On to lap 3 now. Of an expected 40 currently. Rubelar still leads. It's Mustang after Mustang after Mustang after Mustang at the front, as the first non-Mustang is Norbert Leitner, teammate to one Yannick Steinhoff. This is a Mercedes in 5th place out of Hungary. So it's almost Mustang Cup at the front. We have a Mercedes in the top 5, at least breaking things up a little bit.
It's good to have him up here a little bit as well. We're just behind him. I believe that's another Mercedes of Nicholas Mateo just behind him. And then again, it starts the whole train of Mustang GT3s. So obviously these cars can hang with the Mustang GT3s. Again, it's the preferred car, but these cars can hang with those Mustang GT3s as of right now, as we're seeing with Norbert Leitner up here in the top 5. But these guys all spread out just a little bit through this road course of Road America. So everybody right now, obviously with that little turn 3, lap 1 melee, everything's kind of sorted out as of right now. Now everybody's just going to get into their groove. The long race still ahead. So now it's just a matter of where your car's good, where your car's bad, get an understanding of what you need to do as the race progresses.
It's interesting, too, that so many are in the Mustang today, because that seems to be the meta now in GT3 racing on the sim. For a while, after that car released, nobody wanted to touch it. I feel like nobody was going for that car. It was like the cheese touch or something. Nobody wanted the Mustang. I don't know why, but it's a cool-looking race car. Sounds great, too. And now everybody in open setup racing and GT3 on iRacing is going for it, and you see why. It works really well. Rubelar fastest, then Vasquez now, who runs in 3rd behind his teammate of Jarno Cook. This the long run into turn number 1. Everybody's single file.
One of the things that you see here, you come up over the hill through the final corner, and then you're downhill into turn 1. That really messes with the balance of the car. You don't really want to dive it in too hard, obviously, because you're carrying a lot of speed, but coming downhill, you're going to be carrying even more speed. As we look here through turns 3 and 4, coming down to 5, that's also a downhill, hard braking. You don't want to carry a lot of speed into it, just because you lose the car very quickly because you're carrying that extra speed from the hill. Gravity plays a factor. So I think that's what a lot of people like about this track, just the elevation changes. You have to be careful with all your inputs because of those elevation changes. Obviously, for the guys up front, for some of the pro guys, they know what their car needs and how to get around a track, but that's something to keep an eye on, especially with the draft. If you're in the middle of the pack, you're carrying that little bit of extra speed, and that could really hurt you through the middle of the corner if you have to brake just a little bit more. So that's the balance that these guys are really playing with. This long sweeping right-hander also downhill can really play with you. So just the elevation changes of America can really play with the car.
Into the kink here on lap number 4 for these drivers. Again, single file all the way through, and you're starting to see guys realize if they're maybe a little bit off pace. The big thing I noticed this lap was actually from turn 3 to turn number 5. We saw Vasquez and Cook swap places, Zach, and I wonder, first of all, I wonder if Vasquez was faster. Secondly, I do wonder if maybe they're going to try and keep swapping and leapfrog a little bit to try and get up to Rubelar. It seems like Rubelar just has pace on these two right now, and they're trying to find a way to combat it.
I mean, that's a really good strategy. Maybe Vasquez, like you said, maybe feel like he had a faster car. Obviously, these guys are teammates. It's hard to disprove that fact, considering the fact that they're running the same paint scheme. So it's obvious that these guys are paint schemes. Maybe they're in the same chat, maybe saying, hey, I feel like I've got something for him. Hey, I'll let you go. You know, just something to that effect. Like you said, the leapfrog. As long as you're not killing time doing so, I feel like that's a viable option to get up to Rubelar as well. It did work a little bit. Vasquez closed in maybe just the slightest bit there. As we take a look down here at the times, Rubelar with the 201.7 with Vasquez with the 201.4. So obviously Vasquez had the quicker lap behind Rubelar, just about, what, 2/10? So Vasquez right now that last lap was faster. He's gaining just the slightest bit on Rubelar. That doesn't mean he's going to be able to pass him easily, though.
Yeah, this shows your top 4 lap times. 2:02s for Jarno Cook and Gonzo Tazdelin, as there's a battle back here with Lewis Woods and David Bosga getting shunted out of line. Bosga falling back just a little bit behind Lewis Woods, defending there over Daniel Antunes. Antunes back on his back bumper. This is a nice little fight.
Coming through this long sweeping right, this is going to be a good little way to build up momentum. If you can get out of this corner, great. You're going to have a great chance out of the kink. He does build up just a little bit there, flashing him, maybe trying to get into his brain just a little bit. And I mean, we were talking about this yesterday for the GTD class in the major series about how these cars are so even with the open setup. These cars are still relatively even. You can see with different setups, these cars still have to remain behind each other just to remain with each other. So any kind of edge that you can get on your opponent, whether it be mental, whether it be physical, whatever it may be, is going to be huge down the line. Obviously, there didn't really work with the flashing, maybe just because it's the middle of the day, but just any little edge that you can get on your opponents is going to be huge for these cars.
You see the gap now between the leader and all other drivers on the left side of your screen on the ticker. You see the 0.6 of a second gap between Rubelar and Vasquez, 1.4 seconds back to Jarno Cook on down the line, 10 seconds nearly splitting the top 10. As we take a look back at 10th place, Nico Wierzbicki over Dino Filippa, and that is Chris Beats. I gotta say, Chris Beats did a fantastic job. SimCity Racing has quickly become maybe not like the top-end pro team just yet. They're on their way, but they are becoming a better and better team day by day. I remember when this team got started up just a few years ago now. They ran one of the first Cash Days events here with the North American Racing League. Go back to 24 hours of Watkins Glen a couple of years ago, and I recall they were really good there. It's just been so cool to see their astronomical climb, and the drivers are getting better along with the team. It's really impressive what they've done, and Chris Beats hanging with some of the best here in this field, just outside the top 10 so far today. I know this race is young, but he's ahead of a lot of really good drivers, and I recall when he was still kind of working his way up, climbing up, so he has gotten so much better. As we do have a problem, by the way, Lucas Souza, the one car out of the race, he's been out now for a handful of laps.
Maybe just a nice end to Lucas Souza. I didn't really see what happened there. Maybe if we get a little bit more information on the replay here. Yeah, coming down pit road, it doesn't look like there's any damage to that car. Maybe he had other responsibilities, life responsibilities. Obviously, this is a hobby at the end of the day. You know, some of these guys, like some of the guys up top with the Nicholas Rubelar, Aaron Vasquez, maybe they earn a little bit racing this with their licenses and everything. But at the end of the day, this is a hobby for most of us. So maybe just life something came up again. He didn't really look like he had a lot of damage to his car.
Well, check this out real quick.
Coming down pit road.
This is Ricardo Rico on his inside in turn 14. Lucas gives him the light of day, and Ricardo kind of comes up and hits him, and I think Lucas, just frustrated with that maybe, comes into the pit lane right after and decides he is done for the day.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult, especially with a lot of money on the line. Obviously, you want to be able to get that money, so that's weighing heavy on some of the mentals. And like you said, maybe Lucas Souza just called it a day after that, just didn't want to be a part of it. As we jump back up here to the front, however, Vasquez again slightly closing in on Rubelar every lap or so, closing in just a little bit. He's closed up almost to that back bumper, maybe about a car length off of him now, maybe a car length and a half now, but Vasquez still slowly closing in on Rubelar.
Here's some regulars in the North American Racing League. Yannick Steinhoff, a big dive on Eduardo Pecorini. With the crossover there from Pecorini. Wonderful job. These are a couple of guys we see battle for wins a lot on an average Thursday night with the GT3 series, albeit usually in a McLaren for Steinhoff, this time in a Mercedes, and you see the McLaren ahead of Pecorini. He's opted to stay with that car that he did so well with this past season. It's interesting to me, they are both chasing Paolo Godai currently, who's in the back end of Connor Karnick, and Scott Kimbrough. So Kimbrough even ahead of these guys, and Kimbrough I know sometimes wasn't in this past season of GT3 racing, so clearly Kimbrough has got that McLaren firing on all cylinders today in the 15th spot. And the other driver in this lineup actually just got passed up by a couple of these guys, Scott Reister. I know we were working to get his camera on for today's broadcast. Unfortunately, it seems it's not working right now, but we were going to try and get a look on board with him in his sim. He's got a huge setup. It is super cool, and I wish we could show it off today, but it looks like maybe not today, maybe next time. With this North American race. He's doing well for himself. He's in the 20th spot, and he was just a few spots higher, so he needs to get back up there, back on the saddle. Maybe falling back, saving some fuel. That's the other thing, saving fuel here today. I think we're going to see a lot of that.
Absolutely, especially like you said with some of the strategy calls that could be happening here. A lot of drivers obviously just going to be laying behind a little bit just to make sure they save some fuel. As again, back there in the background, we see Paolo Gaddai going to make a move here to turn one. Yannick going to make a move on Pecorini. Paolo Gaddai a little tight there coming out of one, still able to make the pass, but like you said, when you're in that clean air, so to say, when there's nobody in front of you, you're consuming more fuel. But when you're behind in this dirty air in this draft, you don't have to use as much fuel to get down the track just as fast. So a lot of these guys probably saving that fuel. We did see a lot of that as we see a battle here through 5, maybe a little bit of a door check through some of these guys coming through 5. That's one of the issues through 5. If you're going to make a pass, you got to make sure you do it quick. Also, a little bit of door check in there coming through 5.
I think there was daylight between those cars, but maybe not. And it could have been netcode too, but that was David Bosga and Lewis Woods battling there at the 5th turn. Lewis Woods on the receiving end of that pass. He falls back into 8th and into the hands of Daniel Antunes, as Yannick Steinhoff is continuing his meteoric rise through the field right now. He has just gone past Scott Kimbrough, who now does some battle with Eduardo Pecorini. Here they are, and a couple of McLarens.
I think seeing familiar names, obviously these guys pretty much know each other very well. Scott Kimbrough, Yannick Steinhoff, Eduardo Pecorini. Seeing a familiar name, you know how to race around them. You know how aggressive to be around them. So seeing a familiar name, again, it's really enlightening when you come into a race like this where there's a lot on the line. Pecorini looks late coming into Canada corner. Tap Kimbrough. Kimbrough goes for a little bit of a slide in Canada corner. Will keep that car in one piece, keep it straight. But a slide from Kimbrough, he's going to lose about 5 or so positions through that corner.
It's a lot of time lost for Scott Kimbrough. Let's check it out here down to Canada corner. Pecorini gets position on drivers right here into the braking zone. He gets right up on his door. And there might have even been some daylight there between them. So I think maybe we do have drivers worldwide in this race. Maybe that's playing into it. As you see, Ricardo Rico's got no front bumper. I'm not exactly sure when that happened, but that happened early in this race, as we're now about 20 minutes in nearly. So he is working without a front bumper. I wonder if he knows that, Zach. A lot of times, I mean, you can speak on this. You run a lot of NASCAR races these days. Sometimes you collect damage. You don't even realize how bad it is because you're in the car. You can't see your front bumper. You can't see your rear bumper. You don't know exactly how bad it is until you get to the pit lane. You see, a minute, 2 minutes of optional. You're like, well, how? I barely tapped the wall, or I barely tapped that guy. And turns out you're missing your entire front fascia like this.
And it's as long as there's no damage to the steering, you're not going to know. Obviously, going around the track like this with no front bumper, it's going to be difficult. Maybe he feels a little bit of an aero disadvantage, but he's keeping the car in decent shape right now. It doesn't really look like the car's ill handling. So as long as there's no steering difficulty with it, there's a good chance that he doesn't know.
Well, do you see the splitter braces? This is something I've not seen before in a GT car. Usually the splitter seems to be attached to the front bumper. In this case, it's attached to the frame. There's braces there. You can see him holding the splitter onto the car still. That's huge. That's all that front downforce.
So, yeah, like you said, there's a good chance that he doesn't know. He's actually pulling away, and with him being in this little bit of a line here, albeit he's just behind those cars about 5 or 6, maybe even 7 car lengths, that's going to hinder him a little bit, but the draft is still prevalent. If he's able to keep draft, there's a good chance, like you said, Andrew, that he actually doesn't know. There's some tales and some signs that kind of give you that idea, but if the car's not ill handling, if you're not having any kind of steering difficulty, it's very, very difficult to know what kind of damage is on your car.
Dino Filippa has just left us, and I can't tell yet if it's connection or competition related here for the 20 cars, so let's find out. As he was in the carousel or so, maybe about turn 10-ish. And we'll see. Does he just pull off? Does he disconnect or lose connection, rather? or what happens here. This is through the kink.
As far as the text chat and iRacing, nothing has been said about leaving.
Just disappears.
It might have just lost connection. Nothing's come over iRacing text chat as of yet, but it does take a little while for iRacing. Well, as I said that, he has dropped connection. So Dino Filippo, maybe if he tries to get back in it, I wouldn't be surprised as we see now Paulo Gadai again back on the charge with Yannick Steinhoff behind him, challenging some of these cars. Yannick almost gets blocked coming into 6 here, but Yannick takes a power move to the inside and will be able to clear. Paulo Gadai and Yannick are on the move here.
It's a lot of series regulars from this spot back, but we also have David Schwartz up in 13th that we haven't noticed yet, in this battle. He's right behind Jackson Resende and Chris Beets, and those two used to be series regulars at one point. Beets and Resende especially in the early days of the North American Racing League, ran a lot. I believe collected a championship or two. So good to see him here today. We haven't seen much of him lately as he's begun his ascent through the higher ranks of iRacing. He's kind of moved on to different things, and I would love to see him back in a GT3 series here with the North American Racing League, but Jackson still, again, moving up the ranks in iRacing in general. Still some battling behind with Yannick Steinhoff, Paulo Godai, and others. Here they are over the crest at Bill Mitchell Bend, now turn 14.
Yannick Steinhoff now in front of Paulo Gadai, so somewhere a part of that track he was able to get around Paulo Gadai, and I feel like this just breaks into their wheelhouse for Paulo Gadai and Yannick Steinhoff. We've seen that over the course of Season 8 in NARL. They're able to save their stuff, save their tires, and start moving through the pack the later the run goes, but not for these two. These two have checked out. Nicholas Rubilar, Aaron Vasquez still on top of the board. Vasquez obviously closed in even more on Rubilar. He's still not being able to make any kind of move just yet, but he is close. He's close enough to have a lot of draft through these long straights. I believe right now Vasquez has the quickest lap over Rubilar, albeit maybe 2 or 1/10, but Vasquez does have that quick lap over Rubilar, so Vasquez has something here. It's just going to be a matter of if there's a mix-up with Rubilar. If Rubilar makes one tiny mistake, Vasquez can bounce, but right now these two right on top of each other with Vasquez's teammate Jarno Cook right behind him.
And they have left Jarno in their dust, by the way, to the tune of 2.3 seconds now between Vasquez and Cook alone. Gunonso Tazdelin, the next car behind them. That's another one of their grid and go teammates in the 4th spot. Norbert Leitner sitting here in 5th, and he's done a fantastic job so far, kind of leading the way for Impulse Racing. That's that team that now includes Yannick Steinhoff, and we found out in the final round of the season as well, Zach, Paulo Godai, teammates with Yannick Steinhoff. I did not expect that. They're not in like liveries, and that teammate alliance, maybe that was just for this past season of the North American Race League, but regardless, working together a little bit, and there you see on the official entry list, listed as Acolyte Racing for Godai, and for Steinhoff, Impulse Racing. So it may have been just a kind of driver-to-driver partnership for NARL in the last season of GT3 Racing. Regardless, they've worked together, they know each other well now, and they've been partners in the past. It's just interesting how that all worked out, as Gunonso is right on the back bumper, or rather, yeah, this is Leitner on the back bumper of Gunonso Tazdelin, as Scott Reister's got trouble.
I hate that for Scott Reister. He backs up into the wall, and that's going to take off his wing.
Yep.
Now he's going to have a lot of difficulty getting that car around. Obviously had back end trouble. Ricardo Rico coming down pit road here as well, probably trying to sort out what's going on with that car. But I mean, I feel like this is smart for some of these guys at the back. If you're not going to be able to reach those guys up front, you might as well try some different strategy. But yeah, Scott Reister had difficulties in Season 8, had to jump out of the car to do some admin duties as well to help with that in the Season 8 of NARL, and it doesn't look like that any kind of good luck is going to continue here for him in the money race. Let's take a look what happened to him here on the replay.
Watching Scott Reister from Empire Racing. It's going to happen to turn 14. He was right behind Eduardo Pecorini, and clips the grass at apex, just gets a little too wide there on exit, and you see those tire tracks, those ruts on the exit of 14, so you know guys have been out there already in this race, but he just stepped over a little too far.
It's very easy to do so. Like you said, if you see those ruts, that's kind of one thing that you want to aim for as a driver. That kind of gives you a line, that kind of gives you a mark what to do. But if you step over them just a little bit, as Reister does here, little loose getting into the corner, maybe through the middle part of the corner. Reister's car, just that back end steps around, had the wing on the car still, but he decides to stay out of the racing line. I don't fault that move at all, but that wing gone for Scott Reister. It's going to be... I hate that for Reister. Like I said, he's had a bunch of bad luck in Season 8 to finish out everything. Again, had to step out to do some admin duties as well, so was hoping that this was going to be a race where he could just settle in and just drive. Jose DeLeo, big wiggle through 6 here, and a big spin out of it. He's going to get off the track, and maybe no damage to the back end of that car. That wing doesn't come off. Rejoins in the middle of the track, brakes to try to get that car rolling, tries to get it rolling to stay out of everybody's way. It's an aggressive rejoin, but if there's no cars around, I don't fault him.
I saw that while we were checking out the back end of the replay for Scott Reister. So that was replay to replay there, as Sven Hartman now heads down the pit lane, swapping out the BMW for McLaren here today with 11.9 Sim Sport. We did see the pit stop a lap ago for Ricardo Rico. Reister still in the pit lane after eventually towing. But this is what I was talking about, Zach. Maybe an early strategy option. Take the low fuel run early, come in here. Now, is he up for tires? It looks like he's off the ground, so he's taking tires here early. So it looks like he's going to try and stretch these tires to the end. Devin Jenkins in as well.
And I think some of that strategy might have some viability to it as well, just because, well, you're not going to be around anybody now. There's nobody around. You can run clean laps. You're not really battling with anybody. Obviously, that's going to take a hit to the fuel with you punching the biggest hole in the air because there's nobody around you. But then again, nobody's around you to take you off your line. You can run your laps. So if one of the things that I was told, I can't remember who told me, but if you're not going to you can't beat the leader doing the exact same thing he does. You got to try something different. And obviously for some of these guys towards the back end, if they don't feel like they've got anything for the people around them, might as well try something different to try to jump them.
Yeah, we use that saying a lot with our oval racing coverage. I know Zach Murders, who's on social media today, he and I say that all the time. You cannot beat the leader doing the exact same thing as the leader, and that is true if you're, no matter what position you are in the race. You cannot beat the guy ahead if you follow exactly in his tire tracks and do the exact same thing. You have to do something different eventually to get ahead of him. Whether that's for 23rd spot, 13th spot, 3rd, 1st, it doesn't matter. You've got to do something different eventually. Whether that's missing a crash even, that's something different. If he's in a crash, you're not. Eventually, you did something different to beat him. So you've got to alter what you're doing ever so slightly from the car ahead to try and beat him. In this case, it's tire track following for Aaron Vasquez. And the goal right now for Vasquez might not be to beat Rubilar. This is fuel saving galore for Vasquez. This is actually shifting the advantage, I feel like, to car 71. Speaking of fuel, speaking of pit stops, Connor Karnick is in. This is a teammate to those Grid and Go teams at the front, but he was a little bit further down the order. He's in for tires. Could this be kind of a test mule in the case of Connor Karnick? See what tire wear is like with their setup, maybe.
I was thinking the exact same thing. If your team cars aren't towards the front, you might as well have somebody do a differing strategy to give you that information to see if it's viable or not for these guys, if it's worth doing or not. Obviously, we see a lot of these blue and yellow cars up towards the front. Jose DeLeo also in pits as well, up on stand, so he's changing his tires. Mark Booley down pit road as well. So if you're going to have teammates that maybe not on the same speed, have the same speed or same strategy as you might as well use that to your advantage to try to gain any kind of information as you can. Like you said, Vasquez in the tire tracks of Rubilar trying to save some fuel maybe even. So any information is good information, whether it be not the best or not the worst. Any information is good information, especially when you're going up against guys like this where any advantage, any edge is going to be huge.
There's Booley leaving the pit lane after 24 seconds of service.
Oh, we got pit stops for the leaders. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yep.
Rubilar and Vasquez are going to be coming down pit road.
And this is going to bring in Cook. This is going to bring in Ganonso. Everybody's coming in here. This does make a bit of sense. About 30 minutes of racing. Everybody coming in all at once. My goodness.
Well, if everybody's going to be coming in, this is going to be considered one of your money stops. Obviously, the last pit stop is going to be your money stop, but with everybody in, now you need to hit your marks getting into the box, getting out of the box, trying to get as quickly of a pit stop as possible. You see some of these guys a little bit cockeyed in the box. That I feel like this is a strategy. You see Vasquez, Rubelar, a lot of these guys cockeyed in their box to get out quicker. So this is... If not the second stop, this is the money stop right here with everybody coming down pit road.
You know what we call that, Zach? That's called cattywampus.
Cattywampus, I like that. Vasquez, one of the first ones off. Everybody else way behind him. Rubelar, the first one off. Vasquez will follow in suit, but will lose a lot of time. Rubelar here, maybe with a little bit of different strategy, fuel, whatever it may have been.
Wow!
Bosca had to hit the brakes to make sure he didn't get contact with anybody else. Woods, the benefactor there. But 3 wide off of pit road for Road America. It's not what you want to see, these guys entangled with David Schwartz, and I believe that might be, who's that in front of him? Yannick. Oh, Schwartz, a little bit of a bump there. So these guys right on top of each other coming out of pit road.
Kimbrough's out of the pit lane. Everybody, if they had not yet pitted, everybody boxed in that time. So very clearly, there was a money lap pit stop here. Pecorini, though, problems. It looks like maybe speeding in pit lane. He is being held for a while here. And yeah, take away 40 seconds, it'd be 29. He definitely, I think, was speeding in the pit lane.
And I mean, I don't want to bounce like go after somebody pretty hard. Pecorini has had his troubles with black flags, especially in the season 8 of NARL, and obviously it bit him again here today. But again, he's around nobody. He's able to the way that he wants to. He doesn't really have to take into account any cars behind him. Just that big loss of time is going to be hard to get over. Victor Miranda, one of the cars that did not pit on that go around, looks like he's going to come in pit road this time. He's going to be able to possibly lead a lap here at Road America in the money race.
Lewis Woods just had some trouble. Let's take a look at what just happened to him. He's across the racetrack from Victor Miranda as everybody settles in after their pit stop. I wonder if maybe Bosca wasn't too happy. I'm not saying the car was used, but I'm saying it's possible. Let's take a look here. Bosca right behind Woods. Actually, a mistake ahead from the 23. That is Gononzo. Gononzo makes contact with him. That was Gononzo Tasdellin.
Car stay straight. Woods is going to bring a lot of dirt on the track, especially for that part of the corner. You want as much grip as possible. Yeah, just a little bit of a mistake up front. And just a little bit of a wobble. Had to go off track to correct the car. And then right here, it's just a narrow part of the track. You can go side by side there, but it's right on top of each other. And oh man, that one's difficult. That one's difficult to really break down. As you see, Taz Dillon here really having to wheel the car really loose, getting into 7. From that angle, it looked like Woods came down just a little bit, but from the up top angle, it looks like Taz Dillon slipped up a little bit and got into Woods. So it's difficult to say. It's difficult to say on that one.
By the way, now a 7-second gap. Nearly 8 between our top 2. I don't know what happened here, but Rubelar, and actually I can tell you part of what happened. Look at this difference, 19.98 seconds in the box for Rubelar, 50.3 overall. For Jarno Cook, 23.6 in the box, 54.01 overall. And for Vasquez, he got out of the car for some reason, Zach. He had to have checked out something. Now that's what this means. When he made the pit stop, for sure made the stop, but it resets the timer here. It means he got out of the car for some reason. He escaped out of the car for a second to check something. I wonder, was he checking damage? What was he checking? What was he doing? And that's my curiosity here with Aaron Vasquez as he quickly got back in, but it reset the pit timer.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of piqued my curiosity as well, because usually in the car, as soon as you hit the box, you get pretty much all the information you can. You can change what you want to the car while on track, and the pit would pretty much do that for you, so you get all the information there. So I wonder what they're what the idea was there, but better them than me. But we see a battle here, a big chunk of cars. This is Yannick Steinhoff with one of the cars in front of him. Looks like he's lost his front bumper as well. With him punching the biggest hole in the air now, he's probably going to be a lot slower compared to these cars, but he's able to hold them off as of right now. That's probably what started this little line of cars right here.
Look, that's a move from Jackson Resende to the inside of Yannick Steinhoff. Battle now to turn 1. Contact. Steinhoff slides. Great catch. Great catch. He's going to still be in this lineup of cars. A little further back. A little dust on his tires. That's okay. I'm going to say a Zach early contender for Lucky Before his lucky break of the day.
Well, we saw his spin on lap 1, turn 3, and then we see that little shunt off right there. I mean, I can't see how he doesn't is not a good contender for the lucky performance, lucky break of the day. Still a part of this line. Big send coming into 5. Crossover maybe. Nope, car slips just a little bit. Clear that 51 to that position. Paulo Gadai, and I believe that is Schwartz right here with them. Schwartz going to take a little bit of a defensive line. Maybe not. Paulo Gadai is going to try to get to his inside for turn 6, not for turn 7. However, Yannick Steinhoff right to the back bumper of this line yet again. Yannick, big send underneath. Paulo will be able to clear Paulo, but almost gets into the back of Schwartz there.
Oh, he got there. There was contact there at turn 8. Just a little bump there right at the apex to get Schwartz through the corner. Bosga, Leitner, nose to tail into Canada corner here. Battles all over the racetrack. I really want to see what happened to Wierzbicki, because he's got no front bumper, but there's just such great racing right now. We can't check it. Here's a teammate actually going by. Wierzbicki allows Ricardo Rico to get through. That's going to help Wierzbicki a ton. And of course, Rico's got that experience from the previous run having no front bumper. They can draft a little bit, and that can really help Nico a lot.
Yep, with them not punching that biggest hole in the air now, he could just kind of sit behind his teammate, use that as a little bit of a buffer to, again, gauge where his car's at as far as performance-wise without that front bumper, but not have to use up that car just as much. A little bit of a, well, as we go back on the replay there, you see that little bit of a pass from Paulo Gadai. He was attempting,
way
as
further
you see
back
here, have to go way further back. So this might have happened coming out of pit road, Andrew.
I'm still searching. Let's set the interval further back. Let's go way back here. Here we go. It's going to happen in the next 60 seconds or so. This is the out lap for everybody. Leaving the pit lane right behind Chris Beats. And it looks like Jackson Resende as well. And I wonder, because Resende is back there with Nico, but Beats is ahead of both. Here we go. Turn 6. Beats the inside of Resende. Does Resende get loose maybe on the grass? He comes over. Contact there. And that's how Nico Wierzbicki loses his front bumper. Wow.
Trying to make sure that, yeah.
And the dive here for Nico. He sends Jackson off.
He was not happy.
No, he was not. He was determined to get back to Jackson Resende. So that's a little bit of added layer to the cake here. It's going to be very interesting. And here they are battling now. Resende has got that on his mind. He's right on the back bumper of Wierzbicki. How aggressive is he going to get?
Well, obviously, Wierzbicki was not too pleased with that move, especially with Resende rejoining the track right in front of him, causing him to lose his bumper.
Here we
Big
go.
run here. Wierzbicki's going to be on the outside going in through the kink. Resende's going to be able to pass him. Wierzbicki trying to get the pass back on the right side. He's going to have the preferred line. If he's able to do it, a little bit of blocking coming into Canada corner. He's going to have to take the outside.
And that Mercedes nearly had it, falls back in line now behind the Ferrari. That'll allow David Schwartz to run back up on these guys. Meanwhile, great battle ahead with Bosga, Leitner, and Antunes, and even Nicholas Mateo here. We haven't seen much of Mateo yet today. He's in this little fight down the front stretch. 3 Mercedes in a row.
The draft going into turn 1, does he pop out late? No, he's going to decide to stay behind him as of right now. I feel like that's a good move. We've seen a lot of door banging happening through 1, maybe even through 3 here, but if he's able to get any kind of position into 5, let the cars know, hey, I want to get around, start poking his nose in, he's going to have a chance here because of all the draft that he's going to have through this long stretch down to 5.
Great racing across the racetrack today would not be possible without the partners of the North American Racing League, Maradness, JS Consulting, Screw Compressor Service Incorporated, and Rocket Designs, all helping out in some capacity here with the North American Racing League. Such great racing. This is the kind of stuff you can expect, whether it's the Points League on Thursdays, the Sunday Cash League here on Sundays. It doesn't matter. This kind of racing is a normal place here in the North American Racing League. Single make, well, single class, not single make, but single class racing with these GT3 cars always gets so fun. So many great drivers, all from different walks of life, different backgrounds, and different levels on iRacing, if you will, but they all come together beautifully in races like this here today. I'm really just wondering when Scott Reister's going to get pressured into hosting our next endurance race with the league. I've been waiting for it. When's it going to happen, Scott? I know you're watching now as you've popped out of the car. When's it going to happen? When's that endurance race going to happen at some point? But yeah, the Points League, the Sunday Cash League, it's just been so much fun lately, and every series, every season gets better and better, and it's all thanks to these partners on your screen: Maradness, JS Consulting, Screw Compressor Service Incorporated, and Rocket Designs. A big thank you to our partners here with the channel as we hit halfway, about 15 more seconds. Whiplash Simcams, ATVO, CC's Business, Cody, Williams Design, Lucky Performance, and the North American Racing League. Here's a pit stop. Where's Bicky heading in? It seems like that damage is too much for him. He's falling back, and this is a little early, Zach. He might be about 10 minutes too early to make this stop and go to the end. Maybe even 5 minutes. He's going to have to save a lot of fuel.
A lot of fuel saving for where's Bicky here. I mean, he did have a lot of cars right behind him. We saw Schwartz, Steinhoff, Godai right on the back bumper. I thought Schwartz was going to be able to make a move going into Canada corner, whereas Bicky was able to pretty much hold that line decently. Looks like he's just getting out of the way.
Pass
he doesn't
through.
take a stop. He's just going to...
I guarantee that was a pass through. There's no way he would have hit it and just got out of line like that. That's got to be a penalty. Was there anything from race control in text chat, maybe?
Well, that's what I was looking for, something to pop up to indicate that. I hadn't heard anything come over the radio. Then again, I was having difficulties yesterday with it, but I hadn't seen anything as far as race control through the text chat. That's usually what Scott Reister usually comes through, or that's what the NARL stewards usually come through to give penalties, but I hadn't seen anything, so I'm not for sure. Maybe it was an incident limit or whatever it may have been. I'm not for sure if they have that for this race, but I'm not for sure. Nothing on my end.
Yeah, it ended up being the iRacing incident limit. Scott just messaged me, so that's kind of what I figured. When he went through, I mean, there's no way he would have just pulled out a line like that and done so willingly. So penalty for the incident limit there for Nico Wierzbicki. That is unfortunate. He had a good run going, was in the money for sure, and now he's one spot out of it. Out of at least getting $10 for finishing 20th. And, you know, if we recap kind of where everybody is, you can see on your screen the position everybody is in on the left side, but Rubelhart, Nicholas Rubelhart, this is a $2,000 strategy right now. That's insane to say. That's normal, I'd say, in real short track racing, for example. The races I broadcast on Saturday nights, sometimes Friday nights with Pit Road TV and other companies, that's normal to win thousands of dollars. But on iRacing, $2,000 strategy right now for Nicholas Rubelhart, that is huge. Props to Scott Reister for organizing this and making this all happen. That is huge. $2,000. That is, wow. And now Scott adding in that he's short-filled. Hey, if the strategy works, if he's able to make this work out for Nicholas, doesn't matter. As long as he's in victory lane, that's the goal at the end of the day. And we saw, of course, in the pit timer earlier, he had that shorter stop, so that's why he's so far ahead, or at least part of why he's so far ahead. But he got out, I mean, the stop was 4 seconds shorter, but he got out well ahead of everybody else. I mean, again, to the tune of 7 seconds over Aaron Vasquez in that stop. So a big pit stop there for Rubelar, and we'll be watching him the rest of the day. But he's got $2,000 ahead for him if he can hang on to this first spot. It would be $1,000 right now for Aaron Vasquez, $500 for Jarno Cook. Go back to 4th place, it would be $250 for the rest of the top 10. Gudonzo Tazdelen, David Bosca, Norbert Leitner, Daniel Antunes, Nicholas Mateo, Lewis Woods, Chris Beats. The rest of your top 10 currently, that would all take $250 each. Go back through 11th and 20th, or 11th through 20th, I should say. And that's going to be a 100 for Ricardo Rico, 90 for Jackson Rosende, on down in increments of 10 through Steinhoff, Schwartz, Miranda, Karnick, Kimbrough, Delgado, Godai, and Wayand. So they're at least all getting something for their efforts here today and on all of these Sundays, which I gotta say as well, this was not some kind of high entry league. This series that Scott and the North American Race League have put on was free to enter every Sunday, well, not every Sunday, but various Sundays throughout the summer of 2025, free to enter. I almost entered one, thought about it, but my I rating of whatever, 1,500 or so, it was not going to stack up against these guys, so it all worked out in the end, Zach. But some crazy numbers that we're throwing around. $2,000 right now is the carrot at the end of the stick for Nicholas Rubelar. He's just got to make it 35 and a half more minutes in that first place to do it.
I think one of the interesting things you said there, Andrew, that this is free to join. There was no monetary, there was no money needed to join this league. It just goes to show that all the partners of NARL believe in what's happening over here in NARL. This league has been established for so long. Heck, they're just got done with 8 seasons of their points-paying races. This is one of their premier Sunday races for the money races as well. So it just goes to show that all the partners for NARL believe and trust in what Scott Reister and NARL are doing over here. And obviously with these guys putting on one heck of a show, there's not really anything egregious, nothing really dirty. They all know that there's a lot of money on the line, but you don't really see anything overly aggressive. You don't really see a lot of shunts going on out of the corner. So it just goes to show the talent, the poise that the drivers in this league have, the reach, and just the confidence that the sponsors have in this league. It just goes to show that this is one of the premier leagues in iRacing. So I got to give my hand to Scott Reister and everybody that works in NARL. I'm sure there's other people in the background that I'd love to name if I get to know them, but just a bunch of great people here in NARL. The drivers themselves, a fantastic group of drivers, very, very talented. So if anybody's watching is interested, this is free to join. This is something that you might be able to invest in and look into should you want to either get into sim racing or you've been in sim racing for a while. If you're looking for a Premier League to join, I feel like this is your target destination for you.
Yeah, the Sunday Cash League, I'd say, I don't know that Scott necessarily tried to make it a Premier Series, but this is showcasing some really great talent across the iRacing platform, and I think it's quickly becoming a premier place to race on a Sunday afternoon. Nose to tail, side to side here, in this case, mirror to mirror down the front stretch. Paulo Godai and Scott Kimber. Ricardo Delgado not far back. He could join their fight for 17th spot. Paulo goes by Scott Kimbrough there. That is for the 17th position over 18th. Ricardo runs in 19th. So still some money at these spots, but you know, how aggressive do you want to be for a $10 difference? And I mean, that's at least a month of iRacing, $13 a month of iRacing. So that would help, but you know, how aggressive do you truly want to be right now with 30 minutes to go for these spots?
Well, I think too, obviously you would like any kind of payout. Any money coming to you is good money, don't get me wrong, but like you said, there's different levels to it, and obviously each guy wants to get as much as they possibly can. But again, I think that just goes to show how poised these guys are. They're comfortable with where they are, and they know how to race around each other, how to be aggressive but not be overly aggressive with a lot of money on the line. So as we see a big run here coming into Canada corner, maybe a little bit of a bump, didn't really even try to get into to look to the right in Canada corner. So you know, again, it just goes to show the poise of these drivers, the mentality that this is just a race. Even though there's money on the line, this is just a race. They're going to use their race and their racecraft to earn as much as they can. They're not really going to be overly egregious. I mean, I don't know their money situation, but I don't think rent's on the line. I don't think livelihoods are on the line here. So sure, money's on the line, but I think, again, just the poise of these drivers are coming into light, really.
Watching kind of the middle of the top 10 or so. This is a line of cars from Gonanzo Tazdelin. Let's just go behind the trees, of course. Gonanzo Tazdelin through David Bosga and Norbert Leitner, Daniel Antunes, and Nicolas Mateo. This is 4th through 8th right now. 5 cars in a line. And you see Lewis Woods not far back, and then Chris Peets rounds out the top 10 currently. These guys all earning 250, and maybe that's why, Zach, that they aren't that aggressive right now, but also I would have challenged that. If you're Mateo, why not save some fuel? Try to undercut at the pit stop, and pit stops really are opening up now. 55% fuel, you can go about a half hour plus a few. I would say definitely run to give yourself some insurance in case we get an extra lap based on timing. We can always get that extra lap from iRacing depending on exactly when the leader crosses the line to take the white flag. So give yourself a few minutes of insurance, a lap or two. Otherwise, pit lane is opening up. We're going to start to see these guys at any point in time be able to make their stop, I'd say, from now through the next 5 or 6 laps.
Well, and that's one of the things that I've been kind of focusing on with Rubelar up here up front. I've been kind of watching the time between him and Vasquez. Vasquez has chunked into that time just a little bit. He's chumped off just a little bit of a second. But like you said, or like Scott said, Rubelar didn't fully fuel up. He partially fueled. So he's probably getting himself to this point, around this point in the race where he can top off and go towards the end where everybody else would have to take a short stop. So now I'm just kind of wondering, does this swing everything back into Vasquez's favor? Just because Vasquez already made his fuel stop. He doesn't have to go a full fuel where Rubelar's running all by himself. There's no draft help. There's nothing around him that's going to help him save fuel. So he's going to have to come in here rather shortly, take a full stop for full fuel. There's a possibility that with full fuel he could take four tires and still maintain speed. But does this swing everything back into Vasquez's favor?
I think with Rubelar, we'll likely see him go as long as he can go. Reason being, if he runs longer on lighter fuel load, he's a little bit quicker. Even if he's saving fuel and losing time that way, he's a little bit quicker running as long as he can on lighter fuel. Then when he pits, he's lighter when he exits the pit lane. So if he runs longer and puts that amount of fuel in, he'll be a little bit lighter on the racetrack the entire time. Whereas if he pits now, he's not getting as long on this light fuel load that he's got currently, and he's going to put more fuel in and have more fuel when he gets back on the racetrack. So I think for Rubelar, he's going to go as long as he possibly can. For Vasquez and such, I think the same theory may be true, but they've got options. They can pit sooner if they want to. They can mix things up. But I think in general, because of this racetrack being the way it is, the nature of this racetrack, I think in general, all of these guys will go as long as they possibly can, and I think that's why we saw them all pit at about the same lap. I mean, Victor Miranda was really the only driver that went longer, so I think this will be a rather cut and dry run as long as you possibly can. Rubelar's hand will just be shown first. Does he pit now? Yes!
Yeah, I didn't think he could go too much further. This is going to get him towards the end. Vasquez was gaining a lot of time before that pit stop. Vasquez almost put it underneath 6 seconds. Vasquez going to overtake for the race lead here. But that's one of the things that I was concerned with. Now Vasquez is going to have to stay in pit longer because he's going to have to fill up as much as he can. Whereas Vasquez and everybody behind him, his teammates Cook and Tazdell and Bosga, they're not going to have to. They're going to have to come down pit road, sure, but they're not going to have to stay in pit road as long for fuel. They're going to be lighter. That's going to help their cars a little bit more. So right now, this is something to keep an eye on as everybody starts to round out. But obviously right here with Rubelar down pit road, he's going to be mired towards the back with everybody as well.
Let's see, that's the wrong timer. There's the right timer. We do see Ricardo Rico pit with Nicolas Rubelar. They are teammates, I believe, over at Drago Racing. Rubelar leaves the box 23 seconds, right on the money for 23 seconds. That will put him just ahead of Paulo Goday. Ricardo Rico will be leaving the pit lane here in about 20 more seconds. He's taking tires on this second stop. I don't recall if he took tires earlier, but he's taking tires now. That's going to be interesting. That's not a lot of time to get those up to temperature and use them at that temperature. I would think if your car feels grippy right now, if your tires feel okay, maybe keep those tires on. 23.12 seconds for Ricardo Rico. He'll get back on the racetrack here with Devin Jenkins and Eduardo Pecorini. Pecorini has had some trouble as of late and has fallen back to the 23rd spot now, passing Rico. Well, when do we see those other leaders pit? As Vasquez takes over at the front for now, he's in Canada corner.
Well, and that was one of the things I hate to keep bringing up the leaders, just because there's a bunch of battles and there's a bunch of things going on throughout the track. But Vasquez, again, was gaining on Rubillard there through that back portion of the lap. Like I said, he was almost within 6 seconds of Rubillard. Now with everything sorted out and that 4 extra second stop for Rubillard through that stop, we saw that first stop that he had, it was only 19 seconds. The second stop was 23. So if Vasquez is able to chomp in a little bit, plus we saw Rubillard take tires on that one as well. So Rubillard is going to have to come up to speed as well. So if Vasquez decides no tires, just fuel, this could be a race right down towards the end.
I do think it is going to even out a little bit. I think that might be where the other seconds came from, because it was a 3-second difference or so. He didn't get an official time on Vasquez's stop because he got out of the car briefly. But I do think it's going to even out, and I think you got a great point that Vasquez was running faster more recently than Rubillard. But now Rubillard is putting those tires on. He's going to be off pace for a moment to get those tires back up to temperature. And then once he's up to temp, could he be faster if Vasquez doesn't take tires? This is a very intriguing race, 25 minutes to go, and it could still be either of these two top drivers, Aaron Vasquez or Nicholas Rubillard. I think realistically, either of these two could easily win this race, and the battle, the strategy battle, is going to be one of $1,000 of difference.
And that's, again, that's a lot of money, but I mean, with these two, the battle that we've been seeing, big damage here to the 179 McLaren of Sven Hartman. He's going to take, I wasn't sure if they had a quick repair or not, but as soon as he pulled into the box, yep, Wierzbicki as well will get his damage repaired. Jenkins down pit road as well. So we are starting to see those cars that came in, everybody came in earlier, start to funnel in slowly but surely. So now it's just going to be a matter of when does everybody decide to take their pits. How much fuel have they been saving? Sven Hartman down and away, 22 seconds in his box. So that was even shorter than Rubillard. So the box for Wierzbicki was 21.6 seconds. That was shorter than Rubillard. So, I mean, obviously these guys aren't going to gain those time, but I feel like that's a good baseline to see how much time could be gained and lost on pit road.
Wierzbicki off the racetrack. Gold tires immediately off the racetrack in turn 1, sliding through the gravel. Oh my goodness, the day has come unraveled, and you know what? This is why those guys who might be a little more off pace at first stay in the race. You've got to, because now Wierzbicki is down around Devin Jenkins and Mark Booley, so there is certainly reason to believe they could get up there and at least contend with that finishing position as of now, as Jackson Rosende is in the pit lane for service, and he's going to bring in Connor Karnick. And again, this mirrors, so if we go off of the first round of stops, Karnick came in 1 lap earlier than everybody else all at once. So we can expect, I think, based on what we saw the first round, I think we can expect the rest of the field down this next time by as Karnick comes in here on lap 28. There's Rosende as well. You see Scott Rice in the background with his car in the pit lane. Rosende should be down and away at about 4 to 5 more seconds. He's down and away at 18.32. That's a quick stop for Rosende. Somebody's been saving some fuel. Karnick here, no tires. Should be down and away shortly. 19.20. 20.45 seconds.
I think that just plays into a little bit. I think we're at that threshold now where there's really no point in taking tires, like you said. It's going to take a little while for the tires to come up. I feel like that 25-minute to go mark was kind of the threshold to take tires. As we take a look back up here at Vasquez, does he come in and pit now? Obviously, with all the cars around him not taking tires, it's safe to say that he's not going to take tires, but does he come in now as well?
Here we go, pit stop. Aaron Vasquez coming in. So just like the first round of stops earlier, Karnick came in 1 lap, everybody else the next.
So now it's going to be interesting to see where everybody lines out. Obviously, you see some of the cars that were mired towards the back. They're starting to pass through some of the leaders. You saw them around Vasquez, Cook coming down. Taz Dillon, I believe, should be coming down as well. Bozga should be coming down as well with them. So a lot of those guys
out. It's Mateo.
Mateo stays out. So that's going to be interesting to watch as well. Obviously, he's not going to gain a lot of time just because of how far back he was mired to the leaders, but this is going to be interesting to see as well. How much time does he jump on some of these guys?
Yarno Cook into the box. Here comes Bozga and everybody else. Taz Dillon, Leitner, Woods, and Tunez all in. There goes Aaron Vasquez. Pit stop time, he's ahead still of Nicholas Rubilar, 19.13 seconds, and he is well ahead of Rubilar. At least a second and a half, but those tires are up to tip right now for Rubilar.
Now we're gonna have to see if those tires mean anything. We saw sometimes being laid down. Still, Vasquez owns that purple time, but can Rubilar now hunt down Vasquez and get around him? It's one thing to hunt somebody down, it's another thing to get around him, especially with a $1,000 difference on the line here. Can Rubilar make up anything?
Everybody else towards the back of the field not making their stops. But our two leaders, 1.3 seconds apart. Bozga, Taz Dillon teammates, they're on the racetrack now, 6th and 7th, they're 10ths apart. Norbert Leitner just behind. Lewis Woods, Daniel Antunes behind. Everybody making their final stop of the race. Pecorini is in, he's taking tires here late. Sven Hartman should come around and pass him, I'd think. Anthony Wayand is down and away. Oh my goodness, a lot of teens as far as the times across the board for these pit stops. Nicholas Mateo has stayed out. He should be boxing this time. I don't think we expect him to be at the front of the field, but certainly top 5 or so is realistic for Mateo when this race is done. Now let's see if does he come in this time. I would think so. Yes, he will. And we should see Victor Miranda follow, maybe a lap later.
Guys getting in their last pit stop now. We're underneath 20 minutes left to go in this race. Mateo is going to be taking his last stop. Again, it's safe to say that it's fuel only for Mateo here. Vasquez now back in front of Rubilar. One of the things that I did want to mention, Andrew, when we saw those first round of pit stops, we saw Vasquez take tires. Rubilar did, and their times, even though there was about a 7 to 8 second gap, their times maintained the same, even with the tire difference. But we saw Vasquez start to really close in on Rubilar towards the end of that run. But we're not going to be having a full run here. So it's safe to say that Vasquez has a little bit of an advantage just because of how well the times planned out. Vasquez is not going to be running those tires all the way to the cords, as we saw right there towards the end of that second run. So this is going to be a lot closer than what I'm thinking right now. I feel like it's a possibility that we see a drag race to the line, but I mean, with how close these guys have been so far, it's going to be, I believe right now for Rubilar, it's going to be a bit more of an uphill climb.
It's definitely going to be a challenge, but it's doable. Only got to make up a second. And really not even that to get alongside, 8, 9 tenths to get alongside, at least in striking distance of Aaron Vasquez here. But you see the gap bottom right between these two. That's what Rubilar has to make up. And Zach, he can now sit and pull the draft on the straightaways, but that's going to hurt him in the corners. He's going to lose front downforce. You see it there, off the racetrack a little bit, loses some time.
And it's real easy to do that, especially when you're chasing down somebody, when you know the race is getting ready to come to a close. It's real easy to make those little bit of mistakes, especially for pro drivers, especially for drivers that hit their line so consistently. You can't really mess up. You can't really go off track. You can't really have those 10th little increments of off track, really. So as you see right here, Rubilar was 9/10 behind after that mix-up, and now dives it in to get it underneath a second. But you saw there a lot of time to be made up. It's still back to a second, so he hasn't really made up a bunch of time. So any little increment here is going to be huge.
Vasquez and Rubilar, it's going to come down to these two unless something very drastic happens. You see the gap, 1 second exactly across the stripe. It changes there as Miranda pits for just a moment, but you see 1.00 for a moment into turn one between Rubilar and Vasquez. This is going to be an epic battle over 17 minutes or so to the line between these two, and it's all for $3,000 total between these two spots.
And that's still a big lump of sum, but for these pro guys, they probably, I'm not going to say that they've seen that over the course of their iRacing career. I don't know anything that goes on in pro strategy or in pro races, but what I do know is this, that pro guys know how to race around each other, and they know how to manipulate each other, should it be in front or behind somebody. So we're going to see two class acts go at it hand in hand. Obviously, again, money on the line, but I don't think that's at the forefront of, well, it may be for some, it may not be for others, but for pro guys, I don't think that's at the forefront. I think right now it's going to be more so for bragging rights. More so, I beat you on this, you beat me on this, but I was able to bring home more than you. So there's a lot to be had. There's a lot to be said. There's a lot to boast for these two guys right now.
I will say, this was a pretty solid track selection for one really big reason. These guys are able to do their battle here these final 16 minutes, and there's little to no threat of lap traffic. It's a pure, straight-up fight between these two because of how massive this racetrack is, 4 miles in length and change. They're able to just do their battle, just fight it out. They don't have to worry about coming up on a lapper. Maybe one or two in these next 15 minutes, but certainly nothing like we saw in the multi-class race yesterday with the Majors Endurance Championship, where lap traffic was a topic of conversation from 10 minutes in all the way through the following 5 hours and 50 minutes. I mean, that was part of the conversation literally all day long. But here, it's just mano a mano. These two fighting it out. There's one car they have to pass in the pit lane. Jose De Leo off pace a little bit. He seems to have had some damage and had to pit again. But otherwise, these two can just fight it out.
While we're focusing up here on the leaders, I did kind of want to give a shout out to some of these guys towards the back. Sven Hartman again down pit road. It looks like he's going to call it a night there, so that's heartbreak for Sven Hartman. I did kind of want to give a shout out to some of these guys that had to rise through the pack, with Chris Beats starting 16th, now currently running in 11th. But before we get to that, let's take a look at what happened to Sven Hartman here. He's all by himself, so it might be just got a little loose through the corner, or something must have happened here.
Let me readjust the replay here briefly. We'll had it set to 60 seconds. I went back about 5 minutes, so this will be about a minute back instead of 5 minutes or so. This will be Sven Hartman around the racetrack with an issue. I would guess, based on how far back I went, I would guess somewhere in turn 5-ish. Maybe 6 around there for Sven Hartman. May have also just pulled off the racetrack, possibly. You get down to these final 15 minutes, if you're not in the top 20, might be dejected and not want to even continue on. Where's the position board on his car? You can see where he was. 21st, so that's a possibility.
Yeah, almost in that money, trying to get to that point. He's a little bit off from 20th, as you can see here. There's really no cars around him, but obviously he still had a chance to get to that spot should anybody else had messed up. Coming through 5 here, he looked clean, getting up here to 6. We've seen a lot of bobbles through this portion of the track. The bobble there,
got loose, off track.
There.
And he's done.
He's just going to call it there.
That's perfect timing because Nicholas Rubilar is within a couple of tenths now of Aaron Vasquez down the front straightaway. 13.5 minutes to go. It's a straight-up fight. 2 top drivers between them. 23,000 I rating. Believe me, that math is correct. 23,000. That is obnoxious almost between these two, as Taz Dillon and Bosca swap spots for 4th and 5th. These two are about to take off the gloves.
And you might think here Vasquez might be at a disadvantage with him when not having the cleaner tires as Rubilar, and you may be true because Rubilar has been able to cruise in, but these guys are world-class drivers. One pro, one world-class. These guys know how to manipulate each other. This is going to be a chess match. It's one thing to catch somebody, it's another thing to pass them, especially when you have world-class drivers at the top, such as these two. So this is going to be a chess match, trying to force one into a mistake, trying to take air off another. Just because Vasquez has a tire disadvantage doesn't mean he's out of this just yet. You can see Rubilar get into the corners just as well, but Vasquez able to power off just a little bit more. So these guys going to be trying to force each other into any little bit of a mess up here on the track to try to gain an advantage, but that's entirely... it's very, very difficult just because of the standing that these guys have in the iRacing simulator.
Of course, that pro license for Vasquez, an A 4.99 for Rubilar. This would be huge bragging rights for Nicholas Rubilar if he's able to beat a pro driver. Also, you mentioned the tire advantage. If Rubilar's got better tires, we believe he does, I think that's correct, he can be a little more aggressive. Now, you don't want to scrub speed by turning the wheel too much, but he can take a tighter line around some of these corners. He can be a little harder into the corner. He can be a little more aggressive. He doesn't have to save these tires now, and he hasn't been on them for 30, 40 minutes. He could be right on the edge here, these final 11 minutes of racing. 11 minutes to go, and a little bit of change. About 6-7 laps. And I don't think Nicholas wants to show his hand yet. I think... frankly, he may wait until the last moment to make a move.
I mean, obviously, you've seen Rubilar here be able to catch up to Vasquez. He may have the faster car, but if he gets in front of Vasquez, Vasquez is able to draft and stay with Rubilar. Again, that just goes back to what you said. You don't want to show your hand too soon. That's going to put you at a disadvantage. So this is smart by Rubilar, even if he's got runs to kind of get an understanding where his car is better, where he can pounce on Vasquez. If there's any kind of weakness in Vasquez's drive right now, where is it? That's a good place to find to start stacking your cards, but you don't want to show them too early.
We do have a battle behind. Bozga under fire from Mateo. We'll take a quick look here. Mateo deep into turn 5, making the pass here on car number 6. That's the other world-class license, and a big door bang there between those two drivers. Bozga deep here at turn 6 now. He sends it back underneath Nicholas Mateo. He takes that spot back away. This for 5th.
Leitner laying in wake just behind these two. You saw the door check through 5. Obviously, Mateo wants to get by. A little bit of blocking from Bozga. Bozga not going to let him by, especially after that door check. He probably did not like that too much. So Bozga made it known, diving it in deeper into, 6 there. 6 to make sure he retook that position. So Mateo holding strong behind him right now. Mateo may feel like he's got the car to pass, but Bozga's not going to make it easy.
It'll be a lot of fun to watch all of these battles come to a precipice very, very soon. Down to Canada corner between these couple of drivers. Norbert Leitner right behind. I know, I was watching it. I was watching it. I wanted to get through Canada corner with those guys, but we are side by side for the race lead inside of 10 minutes to go in the North American Racing League Sunday Cash Finale. Side by side, mirror to mirror, wingtip to wingtip. Now to turn number 1 behind the trees. There's the lunge. Nicholas Rubilar on through at turn 1, but there's a lot of time for Vasquez to get back at him. Block into 3.
Rubilar blocks into 3, a huge lunge. That's that tire advantage coming through for Rubilar. Rubilar takes the lead, but Vasquez hot on his back bumper. He's going to look to the right, but he's going to have the outside going into 5. He's got to have some sort of big advantage. Door bumping, trying to pull him back. Rubilar not going to let him go. Vasquez comes back at him. They're going to be tight coming into 5. Rubilar dives it in deep. Vasquez tries the crossover. He's going to have the preferred line coming through 6.
Into turn 6. The inside is Vasquez. He backs out, follows in behind Nicholas Rubilar. That is an A-class driver passing a pro driver there again. And there's great fighting behind these guys, but this is for the win. For $2,000 for first, $1,000 for second, $3,000. That's nearly half of the purse between these two alone.
Rubilar able to get a little bit of a gap on Vasquez. That tire difference going to start playing a factor. Vasquez now has to play with the draft, and not only the draft, he's at a tire disadvantage, so that's going to hurt him even more. You see Rubilar pull away now to about a 5-car length difference. I'm not saying this fight is done, but Rubilar's making it a very, very hard case to crack. Rubilar going into Canada corner now with a good 6 or 5-car deficit over Vasquez.
He's pulled a huge gap on this lap alone. Just the back end of the circuit, 8 tenths, 7 tenths over Aaron Vasquez. This is a big gap. Let's see what it is at the stripe. This will also give us a chance to check in with the rest of the top 10. Let's give it just a moment, though. Up the hill they go. They'll come over the crest, and what's it going to be at the line between these two? 8 tenths or so between Rubilar and Vasquez in just the back end of the lap alone. That is big. That's a huge tire advantage. Again, could be a $2,000 strategy for Nicholas Rubilar, but we've got fighting in the back end of the top 10. All these guys could pick up $250 if they hold their spots. 4th place through 10th, it's the same kind of payday between all these guys.
This is some of the guys that I did want to give a shout out to before we started documenting the battle for the lead. Lewis Woods 8th, Daniel Antunes 9th, Chris Beats 10th. These guys are hanging on, but you see some of the drivers behind them, Yannick Steinhoff and Ricardo Rico, who had his mess-ups happen earlier. They are around each other as well, so these guys not out of the fight just yet. As you see, Yannick Steinhoff currently sitting in the 10th position, but with Rico right behind him. So this is going to be a difference of payday from what'd you say, Andrew? $250 to $100. So this is going to be a huge change. This is going to be a huge battle coming down to the end as well.
Yeah, this could be a really good fight between these two. This is a $150 difference between these two spots. That's going to be on their minds. Rico looks to the inside. Steinhoff defends. Not going to happen there at turn 5, at least not this lap. Rico gets a great run out of the corner. Steinhoff trying to hang on to a top 10. This would be huge for him. Big dive at turn 6. Rico to the inside, contact. That's going to be looked at by stewards. That might not stand. That might be a penalty. That's for $150 though. That's how aggressive these guys are going to be these final 5 minutes.
Yannick Steinhoff gets the car back going again, but he did lose another spot to Chris Beats. That was right behind him as we come back up here to the top end, or to the middle half of the top 10, with Norbert Leitner, Nicholas Mateo, Lewis Woods all right here on top of each other. This is Woods now going into Canada corner. These guys right here. Now, again, this is all for $250 from 4th down to 10th. So there's really no advantage, but you still want to have that bragging rights of I beat you. That's what racing's all about. I had the faster car and I was able to beat you. So these guys right on top of each other. Leitner under pressure from Woods. Leitner's not close enough to Bozga to have any kind of fight with him, but Woods bringing the fight to Leitner.
Tasdellen mismanaged fuel. This is what I was talking about. This is why you stay in it. Suddenly, that battle at the top 10 is going to shift down to Chris Beats and Yannick Steinhoff if Tasdellen takes long enough in the pit lane. This is what I was talking about earlier. If you miss the fuel run by just a little bit, or actually, it's probably for incidents.
Yeah, this is probably an incident, and you see those cars coming up in the background of your screen.
There goes Beats, here comes Steinhoff.
Rico, there goes Beats, and there's Steinhoff in the back, so now Steinhoff's going to have a crack at Tasdellen. He's going to come out right in front of Steinhoff. Steinhoff's going to have a little bit of draft help from Tasdellen.
We could still see a fuel stop here at the end. I was quick to say fuel there, but yeah, that was definitely an incident penalty there for Tasdellen. Regardless, we can see more of that even. More guys dropping wheels, making car-to-car contact. We could see more pit stops and drive-thrus for all these drivers. This is going to get crazy these final few minutes. This is where the money is made, though. Oh my gosh. Now up front, you're not missing a thing. We hyped it up for a while. It happened real quick. Nicholas Rubilar showed his hand early, got by Aaron Vasquez, has taken off to the tune of 1.5 seconds. He had this race planned out. So that battle, you're not missing anything. We'll come back to it in a moment. This battle is the best on the racetrack currently. This is David Bozga in 4th, Norbert Leitner in 5th, Lewis Woods in 6th. By the way, Eduardo Pecorini has just pitted. Looks like he was short on fuel.
We see the first half of the track. Leitner's able to get close to Bozga. Bozga able to pull out just a little bit more at the second half of the track. Woods lying in wake. Leitner has closed in on Bozga here. Still not close enough to make a move, but this is bringing Woods right with him to make a move on Leitner. So Leitner's in the middle of a rock and a hard place. He wants to get by Bozga, but he doesn't want to open the door for Woods. Woods now using the draft from both of those cars. He's going to have a lot of speed coming down the front stretch. He's going to look a little bit to the right. He's going to pull back in line to use that draft. But these three right on top of each other, especially with the lap car of Jose DeLeo coming up. That could play a huge factor in this.
Oh, a bobble there to Leitner.
Wiggle for Leitner.
That opens the door
Woods.
for Lewis Woods in turn 3, down on the inside. He commits, makes the pass. Gonanzo back to the pit lane. Don't tell me he got another, or is this fuel this time?
He was going a little bit slow down pit road, so it's possible for fuel. He's staying towards the boxes, so I think this might be for fuel.
That was a lap early, I guess. But Taz Dellin down the pit lane. This looks like this will be a box in for Taz Dellin. This is going to drop him very well south. He's 16th already. He could drop out of the top 20. This could put Devin Jenkins in the money. I know it's only $10 for 20th, but tires even for Taz Dellin. Is he giving in? Is he done?
It might have just been when he came down pit road, he might have clicked off his tires at the first back, but he had to come down pit road, and it might have just re-clicked itself on. That's one of the things with the iRacing service. It just re-clicked. So, yeah, I think he's done. But like you said, Andrew, this is why you stay in it. We're under 2 minutes left, and all of a sudden the top 20 gets shaken up as we jump back up here to the leader. But this is why you stay in it. This is why you keep fighting. You may not have the pace, but you got to bank on others having some unfortunate events happen to them in the race, and that's what just happened here. As we come back up here to Rubelar. Rubelar coming up through the front stretch, gonna take the line. I'm not for sure. I don't think this is gonna be the white flag. This might actually be white flag. Whiplash Simcam's white flag one more time around for Nicholas Rubelar.
The final lap of the 2025 North American Racing League Sunday Cash Series. The wobble there into the braking zone for Rubelar. Question now. How close did they cut it on fuel? Does anybody sputter coming up that hill? You can't coast that final run to the start-finish line. You've got to have enough to get up the hill. That's the beauty of Road America. You've got to have enough to the very last drop here in this race. You're not going to make it up that hill if you don't have fuel.
Especially not, but I think for Rubelar, I think he filled up as much as he could to make it through that last stop. So I don't think we're going to see, well, I've been wrong before, but you're not wrong. Coming up that hill, as soon as you sputter, you kill all momentum trying to get up that hill. As we come back here to this battle, Woods and Bosca going at it still. Bosca holding that position. He was able to hold it over Leitner. A compelling argument to take that position. Woods closes in 5 right here.
Also the battle behind with Mateo and Antunes. Could be a lot of fun to watch these guys this last lap. Woods gets close at 6. A couple of Mustangs fighting it out. This isn't over for these last few spots here at the front of the field. Rubelar, though, working through the final few corners now. Here's the kink down to Canada corner. If he can just execute these final few apexes and have enough fuel, he's just got to get back around for $2,000 now. The North American Racing League Sunday Cash season all comes to a close here at Road America. This track was specifically chosen for the strategy, the battles that it puts on, and what an instant classic it gave us here today. Out of turn 14 and up the hill, it's going to be Nicholas Rubelar trumping a pro driver at Road America. He goes to victory lane. He wins $2,000 across the line there. With the fastest lap of the race, mind you.
Fastest lap. He did not care about fuel. He had fuel to make it. He was just going to make a statement. We come back here to Woods and Bosca coming up the hill. Will Woods have any kind of run? It doesn't. Bosca will hold on as we come back here to Antunes and Mateo. They're side by side coming to the line.
Antunes got him.
He must have ran out of fuel.
I think Mateo sputtered coming up the hill. Wow, Antunes. It's not going to make a difference on the pay chart, but that's a position for sure. That is 7th for Antunes. There's Ricardo Rico. He recovers into the top 10. He'll make $250. Chris Beats will make $250 as well. Yannick Steinhoff got sent off the racetrack, and that costs him $150. He'll finish 11th. Rosende 12th. Schwartz 13th. Connor Karnick across the line in 14th. Paulo Goday will be next up. He'll finish 15th here today. Most recent champion of the North American Racing League finishes in the money. Great way to represent there for Paulo Goday. There's Ricardo Delgado. He finishes in the money. Scott Kimbrough as well. Victor Miranda will do the same. Anthony Wayand and Devin Jenkins, the last two to finish up this season of Sunday Cash Racing. There's Wayand up the hill. He'll take home $20, and hey, that's gas money. That could be lunch money. That is still something worth fighting for. Here's Devin Jenkins, and he will finish in the money here today.
And this is one of the cars that we were talking about that you just got to stay in it, and everybody in front of you can falter. Devin Jenkins will take home money as well. And hey, any money is good money. That's still lunch money.
$10.
That's still iRacing money. That's still something for you to give it. And a great race for him. He didn't. Well, he's gonna burn it down right there towards the end of the race, as we still got some drivers finishing up.
This will be the final car to the stripe. Mark Booley will finish 24th, 3 laps down. He had some trouble, and it's unfortunate for Midline Motorsports that he will not finish in the money, but still had a great day. One of the gentlemen drivers here in the North American Racing League still had to stay in it just in case they're at the end, and Mark Booley will finish 24th. He made it an hour and 20 minutes here at Road America, and that car looks pristine at the end. That'll do it as far as on-track stuff. Lewis Woods, the final car moving. He's going to park that car now somewhere on this racetrack there in the carousel and tow back to the pit lane. Wow, what a thrilling race all the way through. There was no shortage of action, all 80 minutes of racing and then some. That was fantastic. A great way to end the season for the Sunday Cash Series. Let's catch our breath. Whew. Breathe for a second. Let's go back and take a look at the unofficial race results. First of all, Zach, I got to ask, actually, before we get to the results, can you believe that we saw Rubilar take that strategy? We thought, he had that leg up for a little while, was so far ahead, came out behind Aaron Vasquez, and still made easy work of the pro driver.
I mean, when he came out on those fresh tires, I was trying to break down the difference in my mind when it came down to it, because, I mean, he did have that big jump after the first stop, but their times were really, really similar. But when it came down towards the end of it, Vasquez was able to pull a lot on Rubilar. Maybe Rubilar saw that. Maybe he knew that at the end his tires were going to prevail. I'm not going to lie. I was a bit uneven with it. I didn't know whether Rubilar was going to be able to catch Vasquez as quick as he did or be able to get around him. The door checking coming into 5. I thought that was just fantastic close racing, especially for a lot on the line to best a pro driver. I got to give it to Rubilar. That was one heck of a race he put it on, especially when he got around Vasquez, to just pull out as much as he did and to just not lay anything left on the table. Put down the quickest lap right at the end as well. Rubilar had something to prove, and he proved it today.
We'll take a look here at results in just a moment. Making sure we ping the top 3 for interviews in case they want them. And I think we'll be talking with a handful of drivers here when this one is over. Let's take a look, though, at the unofficial race results after an hour and 20 minutes of racing at Elkhart Lakes Road America. Nicholas Rubilar finishes first by 2.8 seconds back to Aaron Vasquez. Aaron gave him a great fight, a great run for his money, but otherwise, Nicholas had this field covered today. Fantastic job. It's hard to argue that he has ascended to an immense level here on iRacing and still has so far to go. He is going to be a name we talk about on iRacing for a long time, along with Aaron Vasquez and a lot of these front runners. Jarno Cook 3rd, David Bosga 4th, Lewis Woods a top 5 there, just over Norbert Leitner. Daniel Antunes, last second buzzer beater pass on Nicholas Mateo for the 7th spot. Ricardo Rico off at turn 3 on lap 1, recovers to 9th. Chris Beats in 10th.
Yannick Steinhoff is going to be the first car outside the top 10. We documented what happened to him. He will finish 11th. Jackson Resende will finish 12th behind him. David Schwartz with a fantastic run. I got to give a shout out to Jackson Resende and Schwartz for jumping up 5 and 6 positions. That's huge, especially with the field that they had. Just Schwartz will finish 13th. Connor Karnick will follow in suit in 14th. Paulo Gadai 15th. Behind them, Ricardo Delgado will finish in 16th. Started outside the top 20, will finish inside the top 20 in the money. Scott Kimbrough finished 17th behind him, started 20th, finishes 17th, so that's a good little payday for him. Victor Miranda, not the race he wanted. He fell from 10th to 18th. He will finish, obviously, 18th. Anthony Wayand and Devin Jenkins, 19th and 20th, started at the tail end of the field and finished in front of everybody, finish in front of money, I should say. 19th and 20th for Anthony Wayand and Devin Jenkins.
Take a look back at the back end of the field. Jose De Leo with some trouble. Gonzalo Tazdelin out early, right at the end. Eduardo Pecorini had some troubles late. Mark Booley, 24th. Sven Hartman, early exit in 25th. Nico Wierzbicki, unfortunately, out of the race early in 26th. Scott Reister took that early exit in 27th. Dino Filippa in 28th. Lucas Souza in 29th. And Zach, you know what we didn't get to do? Because we got so absorbed, at least I got so absorbed in the battle at the end. There was so much happening. Everything in timing and scoring was on my mind. You know what wasn't on my mind?
What you got?
Driver of the day.
Oh.
We can still do it. We can still do it. We got some time. I've already put in the poll my 2 nominations. I'm just going to take the top 2. I think they had the field covered. Rubilar and Vasquez. Zach, take your pick of what's left.
I got to give one of mine to Lewis Wood, starting 11th outside the top 10, still finishing top 5. Gave David Bosga a run for his money right there at the end. Got around Norbert Leiner. I've got to give one of mine to him. I'm gonna dive a little deeper into the field as well. I've got to give another one of mine to somebody like I got to give mine to probably David Schwartz, starting deep in the field, still being able to run up through the field, get to 13th. He had battles as well with people all around him, people that we've documented throughout the season 8 of NARL, and still finish around them. I've got to give my second one to David Schwartz. Started 18th, finished 13th.
Let's finalize that poll over on YouTube. So, sorry, the race was so dang good. We forgot about driver of the day. Let's get that poll over on YouTube here going. So all of you still watching, there's a bunch of you still in the stream. You can make your vote now. Get that going over on YouTube. And you know what? We'll give these guys a chance to campaign a little bit. Each of these top 2 drivers at least will give their opportunity to talk about it. We'll bring in Nicholas Rubilar, who ends up going to victory lane. And boy, the paycheck, $2,000. Nicholas, can you believe that's going to hit your account soon?
Oh my god, man. It's actually... I mean, I have to be honest, this year has been very good for me in like all championships, and I cannot be more grateful than to have all the support, you know. And having this prize finally is like a big relief. Like all the practice I have put into it, it's has a lot of price, you know.
It all pays off here today. I mean, how calculated was this strategy? Because we saw you kind of take a slightly different approach to Aaron Vasquez and Jarno Cook and everybody else. How calculated was this strategy? How much of this went to plan?
I mean, I gotta give it to my teammates because they had a good strategy for the race, and it was a bit unlucky what happened with them. But still, we just managed to pull off because we didn't. I mean, the plan was to not change tires on the first stop, and then especially on that stint, I had to like pull away. I mean, to push as hard as I can because when you change the tires and the tires are warming up, it's like the biggest difference I can make, you know. So we were like basically putting in everything to build a gap on that time.
And for you, I think this win extends, as you mentioned, beyond just you, but your team, Drago Racing. This is huge for you guys. How big is this for you guys in this effort? For you to go out there and beat a couple of pro drivers as well, how big is this?
I mean, it's a culmination of a lot of practice. You know, we have been pursuing the results for quite a long time, and since I joined Drago, well, the results have come very handy to us, and yeah, I mean, it means a lot to us.
And of course, we've seen you in past seasons of North American Racing League action, whether it was GT3 or Porsche Cup. Now here on Sunday Cash, what's next for Nicholas Rubilar? What's next for you as you continue your ascent, your rise here at iRacing?
Well, there are quite a lot of championships coming up, especially the F4 World Championship that's coming in October. We have also the IMSA Esports. So, and yeah, and another championship that is called the BCO ERL. So it's quite stacked these couple of months that are coming.
A lot of great racing coming up for Nicholas Rubelar and everybody else. A lot of these drivers, I'm sure you'll see a lot of them across the board in all those championships. Nicholas, congratulations. Great job today. $2,000 richer. That was a $1,000 pass you made late there on Aaron Vasquez. Go celebrate, live this one up, and I can't wait to talk to you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Nicholas Rubelar with the big win here at Road America. Let's move on down, Zach. This is pain to the tune of $1,000 for Aaron Vasquez, but also success to the tune of $1,000 for a pro driver. Aaron Vasquez comes home second.
He does come home second, one spot short of that winning payout of $2,000, but still $1,000 isn't too bad. Aaron Vasquez, we documented a lot of that race coming down towards between you and Rubelar. Talk to us a little bit about after that second stop, you jumped out in front. What was kind of your mentality? Obviously, you wanted to keep him behind you, but what was how were you going to do it, so to say?
I mean, first, congrats to Nicholas because his speed was like completely amazing. Like he was really, really fast. I didn't expect too much that, but yeah, after the second pit, my idea was basically don't change the tires because the pit was a little bit short than the first one. So if I change the tire, I will lose so much time in pits, and in the Ola will be also terrible. So I didn't change the tires, and I didn't expect I'm gonna be like in front after the pit. So I was thinking the race will be already over after the pits. But when I saw I was in front like 1.6 seconds, I say, okay, maybe we can fight for the win now. But at the end, I see that he changed the two tires as well. So his pace was like much better at the end because my tires were already like off at the end of the stint. So when he comes to me, also I didn't want to race too much because I have like 13x of 15. So if I race a 4x, I will be completely out of the race. So I wanted to be safe, have a fair play like in the race. It's what I did, and basically it was really fun when I was fighting with Nicholas. Basically, I'm really happy with the race, with the P2, with everything. Basically, with my team work we did overall. So I don't have too much more to say because I didn't do like too much mistakes during the race. So I'm really happy in that part.
Yeah, we were talking about how there was just little to no mistakes between the two of you. Obviously, with you having that pro license, there's little to no mistake behind the wheel of that number 71 for Aaron Vasquez. We did kind of talk a little bit about it in that first stop. We had mentioned that you had jumped out of the car for a little bit, and it kind of piqued our curiosity a little bit. I don't know if you actually did. I don't know if you were looking at something. I guess I'm asking why did you jump out of the car there?
Yeah, like in the first stop, in the first stop, basically, he was like, I don't know what he did, to be honest, too much. That only I say that he underfueled a little bit, like of full time, like 3 laps less than me. And also he didn't change the tire. So that also helped him a lot because when you change 4 tires in this new tire model they put, it's really difficult the all lap. So you lose around 2 seconds, 3 seconds compared to don't change. So it's what I lost basically, and I was thinking I'm gonna recover all the time I lost in the all lap with the new tires, but at the end he has also really, really good pace with no tires that I didn't expect that. So at the end I was thinking the race was over in that moment, so that's why I was thinking the race was over basically. But yeah, I was thinking he gonna change tires as well in the first stop, like he gonna do the same strategy as me, but at the end he surprised me doing the underfuel without changing, and he did a really good job doing that, and he deserved the win basically.
I mean, the strategies really played out really well. I'm gonna ask you one more question. We saw a lot of Mustangs out there, especially with your team. The blue and yellow cars really popped. I really like those schemes, but with that, all the Mustangs out there, what did you guys find in the Mustang that you really liked to the point where almost everybody was running them, but obviously you guys run them just a little bit well? What did you find in the Mustang that you really liked?
Basically, after the new update, we were thinking like the Mustang will be the fastest car because we saw already last season was the one of the fastest car basically. But adding the new Aston Martin, we were thinking that the Aston could be like one of the fastest now because it's a new car, and usually when they put a new car, it's the fastest car in that season. But at the end, we were showing like in the first the first week we have the Mustang is still really quick. And also we test like some cars as well, like Ferrari, Mercedes. But at the end of the day, yesterday, like we decided to go for because at the end the car has like 1-2 tenths overall during the stint, like per lap. So we were deciding like we're gonna race with 4 because it's the fastest car. And also we were looking about the fuel and was not too bad compared to the other cars like Mercedes or Ferrari. So at the end the 4, I would say it was the fastest car and the best feeling we can get with the setup. So we were happy to decide, and it was the fastest overall for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I believe majority of the top 10, maybe 7 or 8 of the top 10 was Ford, the Ford Mustang GT3. Well, Aaron, again, 1 spot short, but obviously you're very happy to be coming home with that, just taking care of the car and bringing it. Congratulations on the race today. We hope to be talking to you again here soon, sir.
Thank you, guys. See you, and thank you for this event.
That's Aaron Vasquez with a wonderful day here at Road America. Who on down to Jarno Cook, who finishes 3rd place. A teammate over at Grid and Go to Aaron Vasquez. Jarno, a big day for your team as a whole. You come up a couple of spots short, though, of that battle for the win. What was it like early with Aaron, trying to chase down Nicholas, and why did you let him go? Like, was there a difference? What was going on?
Yeah, hello, first of all. I mean, if you drive against Rubila and Aaron, you know, you will have a hard time. And I was very happy with the quali. Basically, after the quali, I could have already left. I was not expecting to keep up to P3, to be honest, because my pace in the practice wasn't looking too great. And yeah, when I saw Aaron in my mirror, I just, I knew I have to let him pass because he can challenge Nicolas way more than I could. I really struggled to keep up in the draft with Nicolas, and Aaron just gained like a second within 2 laps. So yeah, he's just much quicker than me.
And with all of the high-profile series and events that you guys over at Grid & Go run, why the Sunday Cash Series? Why here on Sundays, on a Sunday afternoon for us, I'm sure evening for you in Germany, and you know, who knows what across the world? Why here on Sundays for these cash races? What brings you guys to these events?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at the field, it's very competitive. Over the whole races, there always was great competition. And yeah, also at the end of the day, you can win some money. And I think that will always lead people to a series.
It's a
and I really enjoy driving it.
Absolutely. It's a $500 paycheck for you. And is that, I think, how satisfying is that at the end of the day? Hour and 20 minutes of racing, maybe a surprise to you as far as your pace in practice versus the pace in the race. How satisfying is that to you at the end of the day?
A lot. If you make some money with your passion, is like basically what every man tries to achieve, and I'm very happy that I made that today.
And you guys are all in the Mustang. I know Aaron spoke on it a little bit. Why the Mustang for you specifically?
Well, we tested, like I tested the Ferrari, the Acura, and basically every car was pretty equal on pace. And then we started to test a bit with the Mustang, and it simply tests way more. Like the rotation is much better than it is in other cars, and also the traction you have over the whole stint is, you cannot compare it to the Ferrari. And the Acura gains way too much understeer during the stint with the track state. So yeah, the Mustang simply on the long run was the best car for us, and we decided to go with it.
There you go, Jarno Cook with a big day here at Road America. Jarno, congratulations, the top 3 in this field. That's a pretty strong achievement, and hopefully we are talking to you again soon.
Thank you.
That is Jarno Cook with a big day here at Road America. Big days all around. I mean, really fantastic day of racing here at a fantastic racing circuit. At the end of the day, by the way, it's going to be Lewis Woods. What a nomination, Zach. Lewis Woods for North American Racing League Driver of the Day here today. That's pretty deserving. It might not seem like he was, lighting the world on fire at first, but to go from outside of the top 10 11th place, up to 5th, to hang with these guys at the front. He had to gain a lot early, hold on to it, and continue to work on it throughout the rest of the race. Of course, a couple of drivers fell out due to incidents and other things, but he had to be in the right place at the right time to get all of these spots, and he was super close to getting Bosga at the line. 1/10 of a second between those two. He nearly had 4th, so a certainly good option there for driver of the day. And if you look at your top runners, your top 5 alone, he is the only non-grid and go or dragger racing driver. You have dragger racing, grid and go through your top 4 spots. And then Lewis Woods here, let's see, what team did he register with? It's going to be Door Esports. So I think that's a surprise. I think that is probably the one surprise in these results. Otherwise, I feel like it played out relatively, as to be expected. A lot of great guys in the front, guys who are still aspiring to rise to those levels, chasing them, and a few drivers that dropped out due to incident and such. But Lewis, a fantastic job behind the wheel to take up driver of the day honors today.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to nominate him. I mean, just to come up through the field, 6 positions, that may not seem like a lot, but with the field that we had here today, again, sure, there's some incidents that may have happened in front of him, but he had to put that car in the right place at the right time, as you said, to be able to gain those positions. And not only that, we saw the pass that he made on Leitner. I'm sure he had to make a couple throughout the field as well to get up to that position. And the fight that he brought to Bosga right there at the end, maybe 1 or 2 more laps, and he might have been able to challenge a little bit more. So I feel like that's a really good pick. I feel like it's really deserving for driver of the day. Obviously, the 2 up front, very, very fast cars, but to be able to drive up through the field and maintain that position in battle, I feel like that's very deserving.
A great day here at Road Atlanta once again for Road America. I'd say I did it right at the end. I had it.
You did it right at the end.
Yeah, I know. I got through this almost got through without saying it, Road Atlanta, but a great day here at Road America. We had 6 hours of Road Atlanta yesterday, and that's still on the brain. Let's see what else is on the brain and coming up for us here with Pit Stop TV. One more broadcast is scheduled for the remainder of September of 2025. We will next be in action and on broadcast here. Oh boy, I really did it. All right, this is why you don't make graphics at 4 in the morning, guys. This is the... Well, I've got no excuse other than that. Thursday, we're at Martinsville, not Road America. Oh gosh, what have I done? Zach?
I get it, man. Life happens to the point where you got to be making graphics at 4 in the morning after being in Tennessee all day. I get it.
Yeah, it has been a wild week. What I did get right was the dates. I apparently didn't think about track logos. That's okay. Listen to me. Don't look at the screen. Thursday this week, we head to Martinsville Speedway for the Impel Motorsports National Tour. We will have 300 total laps of racing between 425 lap heats and a 200 lap race at Martinsville Speedway in late model stock cars. Then the following Thursday, we head out to North Wilkesboro Speedway for the Pierce Fleet Service Super Series. They will also head to Mexico City, not on the road course, but on the oval the week after. That is a big race for them. North Wilkesboro, then Mexico City. You don't hear that very often unless you're talking about a NASCAR Cup Series schedule. In this case, it's the Pierce Fleet Service Super Series. Check in for each of these couple of short track races coming up. Then Sunday, a couple of Sundays away, we go racing with the Major Series at Darlington Raceway for the Major Series Southern 500. I wish I had an upcoming North American Racing League event to talk about, but it's going to be a quiet fall and winter here for the North American Racing League, targeting a January start date for GT3 season number 9. Check in on the North American Racing League Discord server if you are interested into getting involved there, or you can check in with us here at Pits.tv. We can point you in the right direction. We, of course, have these social media links at the bottom of your screen if you're wondering why. Well, you can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. A lot of great work by Zach Murtis over on each of those platforms today. You can also follow us on TikTok. I guarantee you a clip or two of this race is going to make it on TikTok this week. Just give us some time to do it. Twitch.tv, YouTube.com, X.com, all over these popular social media platforms across the internet. And boy, Zach, final thoughts here from an epic day at Road America.
Final thought is I'm worn out. That race really produced a lot of fantastic racing. The battle right there towards the end, the strategy calls, everybody being right on top of each other regardless of where they were out on track. I feel like this was a huge success, and I can't thank NARL and Scott Reister and everybody that put this together enough for everything that they've done for, again, NARL to put something on the schedule like this, to have it all come down to what this was. It was a fantastic race, and I'm looking forward to what 2026 has to offer for NARL.
I'm definitely looking forward to January of 2026 when we go racing for the next time with the North American Racing League. Unless an event pops up, hey, Scott Reister, we're interested. Let's make something happen there here at the back end of 2025. Let's go racing one more time at least before the year is up. But that'll do it for us this evening. I say this evening a lot. I guess you could say this evening, depending on where you are in the world. I mean, it's 4 o'clock here on the East Coast. I'll say this afternoon here for us on the East Coast. A great day of racing once again with the North American Racing League. You can always expect that with this bunch. And a big thank you goes out once again to the groups that make this kind of racing possible. Maradness, JS Consulting, Screw Compressor Service Incorporated, and Rocket Designs, helping us get to and from the virtual racetrack and make these events possible. A big thank you as well to our partners here at the channel: Whiplash SimCams, ATVO, CC's Business, Cody, Williams Design, Lucky Performance, and the North American Racing League. Once again, a great day with the North American Racing League. Just a fantastic day of racing. Thanks so much to Scott Reister and company for making this event possible. And boy, what a day. Zach, I'm glad you joined me. Zach Murtis, I'm glad you joined us as well over on social media. Some great work for you all to check out over there. That's going to do it for us one final time in 2025, for now at least. Thanks so much for watching. We will see you all next time here on Pit Stop TV, hopefully this Thursday at the Martinsville Speedway for the Impel Motorsports National Tour. The Martinsville 300 brought to you by RJ Williams Management. We'll see you all there. Martinsville coming up Thursday. You got to be there. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next North American Racing League event coming up soon.
For those who competed decades ago, speeding down highways, through towns, country roads. For those who sat watching on the sides of the street, who found solace in chaos and thunderous speed. Even for those who grew up without the sights and the sounds, and live without race cars shaking the ground. Who don't understand why racing appeals to our fascination, wonder, and the way that we feel. A purpose-built place to camp and spend time with friends, watching racing together until darkness descends. Though no longer do the streets rumble and roar, there's a place just for this, a park to explore.
A road racing circuit before the assault. The 4 twisting, beautiful miles at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. For 6 brutal, ear-shattering hours, its serenity will be violated by the raw power of screaming racing machines. It's the famed end-of-season endurance classic, the Road America 500. The specially constructed race circuit at Elkhart Lake at normal speed is a scenic 4-mile drive through fall-tinted Wisconsin countryside.
Hidden by forests near Elkhart Lake, not a path nor trail, but a road meant to race. In a town too quiet, the refuge we seek, Road America, the racetrack, the national park of speed.